Proud of this thing. As always, I'm Gus, and I'm joined with my co-host Alvaro.
What's up, guys?
Can you believe it?
100, 100.
Brother, 2 years ago, who would have thought we would have made it to 100, right?
Just a crazy idea, man.
Yeah, who would have thought the Green Knight could have done this much?
They know, not even. We also had our, planning for it before. We knew we were going to do the Green Knight at one point, but it started with Titan. And I think even that holds a special, every time I watch Titan, it kind of always reminds me of that. It always will. You know what I mean?
Isn't it insane that our first episode too, like, let's go for like as long as we possibly can. It's crazy to go back and just listen to that first episode.
Let's talk about every scene in the movie.
How different every single aspect of the podcast is from the first episode, if you catch my drift. But yeah, we're here, episode 100. I really can't believe it. This is probably the thing I've done. I was joking with my wife earlier. I was like, this is the thing I've been doing the longest besides you. So I can't even believe I've been committed to it for this long. Don't ask me why I do this thing, because that's a question I probably don't want to answer. But I love doing it every week. And I'm glad to always have you on my side, as always. And, to all the listeners out there who have listened to it over this 100 episodes, thank you. Alvaro, I'm kind of done gushing for now. Do you want to say anything to our audience?
Yeah, I mean, every week I do think this podcast has really helped me mature more as a movie or film viewer, I would say.
As a film guy?
Yeah, not a movie guy. Films and
I'm a
movies,
film
two
guy.
different things. You know what I mean? And it's like, actually, no, but I do think it's always, it keeps me on my toes to be able to come on here and have an opinion that doesn't sound like I'm just rambling.
Mm-hmm.
I think that as you get older, sometimes you could find yourself kind of caught up in conversations that are very dull. Maybe it's just me, but it's like I feel like the podcast really at least makes me try to view things that a lot of people see as entertainment, and it is in a deeper way, and kind of value movies for what they, I think, probably meant more to people before. So I think it's a very unique feeling, and like I said, I'm glad that you've brought me on to this, which is your idea at the end of the day. But it's been really fun. There's been so many episodes where I think I've maybe taught you some things, but I do always feel like I learn a lot from our podcast episodes. And
yeah, definitely. I feel like we see things so differently, even when it's a movie that we like pretty similarly.
Exactly.
There's so many things that you're like, what do you, like, sometimes I feel like you're looking at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I think there is a healthy back and forth of disagreement, which I think has always made it quite interesting. And I do think before we had a podcast, I think there was more of an idea that we had like a hive mind of like, yes, this is good, but we never really would talk about what we thought was good about it. Like that separated our opinions, it'd just be like, yeah, I love The Big Lebowski, but you might love it for a completely different reason than I do, or there might be a moment in that movie where I'm like, God, that really fucking irks me. And you're like, what are you talking about? That's like one of the best parts. And I always think that is the best part of doing this podcast, because we're mature enough to have disagreeing opinions without like it becoming personal, which I think is a lot of what's out there in like the just podcasting landscape. I hate the toxicity of it, and I feel like we keep it pretty civil on here. I mean, obviously it's because we're best friends in real life, but
yeah,
we just we talk to each other how we would like to be talked to for the most part, and I think it's not to toot our own horn too much, but I think kind of a warm, wholesome vibe. We might talk a little shit here and there, but for the most part, we're here to, champion and be custodians of the film, as Guillermo del Toro always puts it.
I stand on business or sit on business, similar to Cillian Murphy in this interview that he's going to do with Margot Robbie. It's interesting.
Yeah,
he's still standing on business.
The green line, and you're completely sideways.
That's a podcast, honestly. Barbenheimer, you know what I mean, but still so different.
Oh, I've been meaning to ask you this. I'm glad you brought Barbenheimer up. What are we going to do about the Barbenheimer episode now that there's a parody movie called Barbenheimer coming out. Are you aware of this?
Yeah, that is true.
Do we have to go back and like make it Barbie Oppenheimer?
Actually, what they don't know is that we in a old way trademarked wrote a letter to ourselves about Barbenheimer in 2023. So they actually owe us money for using that name.
We might have to at least acknowledge that movie's existence at one point, which I'll probably put in the work of actually doing it. I know you're less of a sicko. You don't really watch movies that you know you won't like, or I'll rephrase that because it makes it sound like you're not willing to step out of your comfort zone. But I think you do have a pretty good gauge of, veering into like maybe,
I think a movie like that, so obviously parody.
When I see that you've watched like 4 3.5s in a row, I'm like, oh, he's upset. That's like the lowest grade he gives a good movie.
No, but I get what you're saying. It's like a certain type of movie that's coming out. It's obviously like I found out in when the movie we're going to talk about later today, Thanksgiving, that there is like a movie called like, I like lost it, but it's like a KFC drumstick.
Okay.
And like that's one of the horror movies for Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? It's kind of like Thanksgilling.
Yes. The poster has like wait, are you saying the poster or the weapon in the film was a KFC?
No, the poster.
drumstick?
One of the posters that I saw online. So it's like, that is not a movie that if it came out, I'm going to watch. But you know what I mean? That's what Barbenheimer is probably going to be. Like the Winnie the Pooh dark movie. No, I'm not interested. You know what I mean? You're not going to get me to
this. Yeah, I don't think you will. The movie has to have some semblance of style, right? Like it can't look too amateur to you. Or
like it's not even that, because then like for example, on the count of 3, I like look at it and it's not like I really feel like that movie looks anything crazy.
Yeah, but on the count of 3 and Bud's house.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so there is like
look at Bud's house if you have no clue what we're talking about, because I know you have no clue what we're talking about.
I think there has to be like for me to watch even like someone new that I've never watched, a new direct. You know what I mean? Like why should I?
Emerald Fennell, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not fennel, by the way. It's Fennell.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, but we're gonna get to that.
But yeah,
we're going to get to the bottom of that sticky tub in a little bit.
Barbenheimer is something I will not be partaking in more than likely, and not in the film way.
Hopefully someone will upload it like they have been doing with Barbie and Oppenheimer. God, I feel like I'm actually snitching as I say this. Maybe someone will do that with Barbenheimer and I can log that on Letterboxd.
Yeah,
that might be a way to cheat the system. I've been wanting to ask you about this too before we get into the movies we're talking about. Of cheating the system, my loophole is what it feels like of how I'm trying to get to 365. I brought this up to you off the pod, but I've been watching a lot of the MGM, Tom and Jerry, and then Warner Brothers Looney Tunes and the old Disney shorts that used to play in the theater. And I'm like racking up like 8 or 9 of these a day. Does this feel like cheating? If I have to ask, probably.
That's what I said. That's what I was getting. If you have to ask in your
but they played in the movies.
And your setup challenge that you set up for yourself.
Yeah, I made it.
I think you feel guilty about it.
Well, as a guy whose movie podcast is about a fake hotel that houses movies, I think we like to get a little convoluted for no reason.
Yeah,
we've been getting convoluted in this motherfucker.
Jay, I guess you're thinking about it in a way that like if I was showing a movie every day in the Grand Cinema Hotel, and I just showed an 8-minute short, would they be okay with that?
They did it at the New Beverly when we went to the New Bev.
They showed like 9 of them, right?
That's what I'm saying. Because they had the kids thing going on before the Dark Crystal. So I'm just saying, they played in the theater.
You could be like Quentin. You got your own rules.
I guess. I mean, I'm at 291. I need like 75 in the next 30 days.
I mean, I think they should count as 82% of a movie. You know what I mean?
Are you hitting them as their sub movies?
No, I just like bringing up the Quentin Tarantino being so nerdy about what exactly is the amount.
It's like the most autistic thing I've ever heard anybody say, right?
Yeah.
Where do you want to start? You want to start with Thanksgiving, Priscilla, Saltburn, Napoleon? These are the main movies we're going to be speaking on today. It's been a very busy time lately. Let's crack these first, yeah?
I think
There's some celebratory drinks here for getting to 100.
I think we should actually talk about the...
Go on.
Thanksgiving.
Cheers, brother. Episode 100.
Cheers.
Nice.
So I think we should start with
the audience here.
With Thanksgiving because I think we both like that one the same amount. And I have been wanting to praise that one a little bit, actually.
We're also hella late.
Yeah. But
Go
it
on.
happened last day. I mean, the holiday was last week, so
That's true. It just feels late as fuck because we saw it on the I think the first night, right?
Thanksgiving. You know, Eli Roth's first tease movie in Grindhouse, the movie that you showed me. Definitely when we first saw, or when I heard of Thanksgiving, it seemed like it was gonna be Barbenheimer, right? Like a movie of that seriousness to it, which is I'm not opposed to if it's a horror movie. Like whatever, I'm not above it. And like I do think it's like pulpy slashers could be fun. And we went into this kind of expecting it to either, you said it perfectly before, either I'm gonna really like this or this is gonna be one of the worst movies of the year.
And then I gave it a 3.5, so I don't even know what that means.
Yeah,
right? It's okay.
I think it defies your defies expectations, even if you could be a harsh critic. I think you could overlook that. Even though this could have gone really, really bad, I think Eli Roth actually pulls off a classic.
It's high tier mid, I would say.
Yeah,
where it's like it's the
and it shouldn't be.
Yeah, it should be really bad.
It should be really bad.
Have you seen a lot of the reactions in the sense of why this movie sucks? I've seen more of the reaction of why Eli Roth, the person, sucks.
Yeah.
He's a open Zionist who is doxing people who support Palestine on Instagram, which is, I don't know if this is the place to really get into that kind of thing, but since we're bringing it up, I think you could tell it's not something we really think is cool.
He's like
it's kind of weird in real time, right? It's like it shows you how much the internet is not real, right? They're like, he's being canceled online, but
the Bear Jew?
Doing, yeah, exactly. Whoa, Quentin Tarantino's words. No, that's from a movie, people. That's from a movie. Chill.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to take the claw away already, bro.
He's like, what happened?
Right. Yeah.
But that does seem to be more of the discussion I've heard. On Bad of the movie, I think it's one of those movies that if you don't really like slashers, people probably haven't even gone to go see.
It's inspired filmmaking, right? I mean, it has a message, and I think that's why it elevates itself over being just a B movie. Mm-hmm. Like the most recent B movie horror I can think of is the Slumber Party Massacre that I watched in October, and I feel like this is a movie that is better than that because at least it's saying something. You know, it's talking about capitalism, it's talking about consumerism, how American holidays that are supposed to be traditional, even though they're rooted in these barbaric origins. You know, like. This is like a movie that's talking about America, right? But it also has a guy wearing a fucking pilgrim mask and murdering teenagers who make TikTok videos and stuff like that. Shout out Addison Rae.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. I mean, I think that's what makes it better than your average B movie is like something like the Slumber Party Massacre. It's cool to remake Halloween, you know? Like that's what the point of that movie was. Like what if Michael Myers was another guy instead? You know, it's like a shitty Brian De Palma movie.
Yeah, it's the beginning of Blowout, right?
It is.
That movie.
Which is like not something I want to see for 75 minutes, although it is very cool to watch him drill teenagers in the face with that power tool.
I will say, what surprised me the most about this movie or how much I did like it or made me feel like it's like high elevated mid, as you said, was I did actually feel like whenever you watch a new slasher, the one thing that you are in for as a sicko is like, how are they going to kill people in this movie? Is there going to be any new ones? Is it going to be something that I feel like I haven't seen? I did feel like every one of the kills here did feel inspired, which is always like a weird thing to say, but that's kind of what you zone in for when you're watching it with the crowd, is for the crowd to be like, oh, like, you know, oh fuck.
Yeah, there was a few things that were very... You know, maybe I have a weaker stomach than you, but I was like genuinely like, oh God, you know, like there's long enough to give out spoilers. You know,
I think so.
It's been like
the slasher kills. I'm like, we don't have to say who it is, but you know what I mean.
The log through the face.
That's crazy.
I always cringe at someone being cooked in the oven. That one's always going to be one that I am like, oh. My first one was the amazing match cut in Final Destination that goes from the tanning booth to the grave.
Ooh.
As pure cinema, you know. Pure trash cinema right there.
That's seriously.
But yeah, I thought it was a very cool movie.
I thought the freezer one.
Yeah.
Like the use of the throwing water on your face. Shout out
Jason X, right? It reminded me of that's the one where he's in space now.
Throwing water on the face and then sticking them to the freezer.
Fuck.
So then you
Shout
just
out
rip her
Christmas
face
Story, dude. Stick
Like-
your tongue to the pole.
Yeah. So, and then for me, I do think it's cold open really made me feel sick. It was actually probably the worst part of the movie for me was because I did feel like,
Do you mean the riot part? The
Yeah.
beginning? Is
Like,
that the
I
very
just-
beginning?
yeah, like the riot is like the,
It feels like it's deeper in, but I get you.
but like the riot
The
is
inciting incident.
that is horror. You know what I mean? I did feel very like, holy shit, this is as scary as, you know, we talk about like when evil lurks, like this is a fucking curse. Like these people
Yeah.
acting like this. You know, people act like monkeys, but
You know those like Renaissance paintings of like
Yeah.
hell where it's like it looks like Astro World but with demons. It's like
Exactly.
a huge demon that's mouth is open and like humans are crawling out and they're like dancing and stuff like that. That's what a mall or superstore would look like on. You know, that's the modern Renaissance painting of America.
And for me to, I guess, end up feeling that way about the movie, expecting it to be pretty bad, I had to give it its credit. I think we kind of later talked about too. We always like to talk about this, like our crowd experience.
Oh yeah, how could we not talk about?
We were watching with Dudes Rock, dude. That was opposite of Saltburn. We were
Yeah,
watching.
that's true.
We were watching Thanksgiving. These people were ready. They were zoned in after that opening. You know.
We had a guy, like there was a guy in
guy,
our
yeah.
theater, you know, like I'm gonna make myself known to the entire theater, and he did. And I'm usually a curmudgeonly old man in the theater. I'm like, shh, you know, unless it's you, of course, because you're giving me insightful thoughts about the movie we're currently watching. That's my favorite part. This guy was just like, the best part was when he walked in and Bobby, where are you? Even though the guy's like 3 rows up, he can obviously see him. And
Wasn't even a big
what did
theater.
he say in the beginning of the cold open?
Hell yeah!
No. Well, he did say that when
Oh,
the
yeah.
credits hit, but he was like, what did he say? He's like, it's time to carve it up or something.
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
He
you
made
know.
a thing. He had thought about us saying, yeah.
We've had a lot of these experiences lately, but this was the first one. It was like the George Costanza, like, I bet that hurt. Yeah. So that's dudes were rocking in that one for
And
sure.
that adds to like when we talked about in prior episodes, Barbarian. People show up for horror. People showed up for this movie. I think everybody left satisfied. I do think again, it was better than I expected.
We needed this.
A lot of the actors in it, I don't know from anything else. Obviously, Patrick Dempsey's been around for a long time, but I don't necessarily like him in anything. So
He's washed in your lifetime.
so he's
Well,
like
our
a,
lifetime, but you know, my mom was a big Patrick Dempsey person. I would consider a long run on Grey's Anatomy and a bunch of shitty movies washed, wouldn't you?
yeah, it's like it's fine. He's known, you know what I
He
mean.
gets the
He
bag.
won.
Sexiest man
he won,
alive,
yeah,
right?
exactly. He's not exactly down, but
Look
I'm
at
not
his
gonna give
filmography,
him.
people. Look past the looks. It's god
Yeah,
awful.
it's bad. So this is to me my favorite performance from him.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Shout out.
Yeah,
It's never too
And,
late to change my mind.
Yeah, and like I said, Addison Rae was in one movie before. Terrible.
Yeah, I mean,
and this is like she's serviceable.
Do you think that why have her in the movie? I mean, I understand it might be a play to bring in a younger audience. Like, oh, we want the TikTok people to come see this because there is a lot of TikTok stuff in the movie.
Yeah.
But do you really think Addison Rae is like, that was like maybe 3 years ago now? 2 years ago?
I just think
Don't you think maybe it's like, I don't know, if it was like Pokemon or something like that?
there was
or-
some. I do think there is some. Like they are TikTok royalty.
That's
So
true.
like any one of the Rays are like, oh, like, you know, like even the mom and dad are like known. So I do think it's kind of like Eli Roth is like an older director, right? He just kind of sees it as obviously they know who Addison Rae, and at least she's in something, you know. So I mean,
That's true. I mean, she's not bad in the movie. It's just a very interesting choice, right?
I do think it. Maybe he also tried to keep it a little who would live in Plymouth, right?
Yeah, TikTok star, right?
Yeah,
They
like
could
who?
come from
What
anywhere.
kind of?
That's
What
the
kind of?
point.
What kind of? which one of the stars looks like they would live in Plymouth? I'm like, yeah, Addison Rae.
I guess so, right? I guess. I don't know. It's an interesting topic. I don't think it's as cringe as some people have made it seem to be because she's not really that integral to the story, and I don't think that she sticks out either, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So
she's been making some cool behind-the-scenes content. I don't know if you've seen. It's very 2008. Like, she kind of cooked, bro. Like, the behind-the-scenes stuff that she made, it's got like an After Sun vibe to it, you know? Where you're like, wow. Damn, she's kind of inspired behind the camera, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm more interested in what she did there. She captured a 2008 vibe unlike anybody else. So, I think you should check it out if you haven't seen it. It's actually pretty cool.
Finger on the pulse.
Wait, excuse me?
Finger on the pulse.
Finger on the pulse. I could have sworn you said something else. I think that's a good time to move on. My double feature that day was Priscilla and Thanksgiving. You saw Priscilla a lot earlier than me, so I don't know if this is still a movie that's on the top of your mind. How do you feel about Priscilla?
The one of two of Jacob Elordi we're bringing up today, right? I will
He's
say
the man right now.
I will say haven't thought about it in a while, but did obviously go back and read some of the stuff that I wrote about when I first watched it.
This is not a movie you've seen 2 times.
This is not a movie I've seen 2 times.
That's kind of saying a lot.
But I have no issue with it. I think it's a good movie. I do think I kind of do think at the end or for the last like 30 minutes, I had kind of already understood what we're at. It is really like a very vulnerable, very the coolest guy on earth is actually, you know, not what he seems he is. I had understood that from very early on in the film, and I did kind of feel like
the scene ending, where he's burning books is so funny.
You know, because at that point, like the movie has done so well that I already see him as a loser. You know, and so like then
the coolest guy on earth is also a gigantic dweeb.
It just keeps hammering it for
the
me.
The male gaze
for a little, for a little too much. And but I did feel like it's a story that hasn't really been addressed as much. Obviously, everybody kind of always talks about Elvis, but I did end up feeling like I walked out of that film feeling more confident that Elvis's depiction, like Jacob Elordi's Elvis depiction, is more of reality based than even Elvis of last year. And I did think
that's like a fever dream Vegas nightmare, which like, has its own merits that I do enjoy. But yes, I do understand that Jacob Elordi's performance is probably traditionally more attractive. I would say.
I wouldn't even say,
but I mean like the performance.
Yeah,
you know? Like
I wouldn't say it's better. I wouldn't, because he in Elvis he went hard. Like he's the thing that really, really takes the film another, like for it to even be considered like an Oscar film. I do really think it's him. So I'm not gonna say he was the better Elvis, because he wasn't Jacob Elordi, but he was a good Elvis. But I will say Sofia Coppola
it humanized him more. I would say.
Yeah, but I do think Sofia Coppola bodies Baz Luhrmann on his depiction of Elvis.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to get into the idea of what is a hack later, but Baz Luhrmann, hack.
Yeah.
I mean, I love a lot of his work, but I'm not, I love it because it's bad. Like that's a guy that I'm pretty open. Like I like to believe I have no guilty pleasures, like, yeah, it's bad and I like it. And he is one of them for sure.
But the movie, I do think, I don't have her name at the top of my head right now.
Kaylee Spaney.
She deserves
very good.
Yeah, if she wins best actress in any of the circuit runs, it's deserved.
Yeah, she's
really good, and I ended up feeling like you resonate with the character a lot, very vulnerable. But I think it almost felt a little too long for me for how short it is.
You know what I thought was the problem with the movie? It's like gorgeous looking,
of course,
sick fucking soundtrack.
Sofia Coppola, right?
The actors are fucking amazing. Yeah, it's like no shit. She makes fucking banger movies.
Yeah,
like,
she
even
does.
if they're not the best movies, like your favorite movies of all time, it's like no, she's fucking top tier, like one of the best directors working. Just so fucking vibey and dreamy, and like honestly not talked about enough for how much of the, like, you want to talk about the A24 world that we live in now, how much of that is inspired by what she does.
yeah, exactly. That's a great point. I do think
all y'all is my children.
Her sense of vulnerability with her characters, it does all really feel like lost in translation. And
the movie we're gonna talk about later, Saltburn. It's like if Sofia Coppola was like a much more raunchy person.
Yeah, exactly. I do agree with that. I think that I like the movie more than I dislike it, but I ended up like the reason when I was watching it, there's a double feature that day, but I had just seen The Holdovers, so I think it might have also been the fact that I just seen like a grand slam. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, so it might be like I was also because I literally fell asleep in the last 15 minutes. And
of Priscilla?
Of Priscilla.
The first time you saw it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the only time.
That's gonna be. Oh yeah. This is gonna be a recurring.
And it's not that it was, and I don't think that it was boring, but I do think even I've never done that.
Okay, can I tell you why? Because I have a similar feeling. I did not fall asleep in this movie, but something about why this movie to me, I gave it a 4. I know you gave it a 3.5, but you know why I think it feels so long is because Priscilla Presley, as interesting as her story is, a lot of it is kind of boring. You know, it's like she was just there alone in a house in 1950 or 60, whatever.
Exactly.
It's not like she was like, hey, Alexa, and playing TV and running on the treadmill or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, she didn't have this modern lifestyle. It's like she was literally this like little doll that Elvis had to be perfect. Exactly. Keep the fires at home burning, baby. You know? So it's like, I can't really fault that her existence was like not ideal or entertaining enough to like really want to watch for a long time, because it's like, come on, are we really going to dance around the pedophilic nature of their relationship? You know what I mean? Like, even this movie still treats it in like, I guess it was as respectful as it could be, right? Because if this is based off the book and Priscilla's own story, I have to take her at face value that she's like, yeah, I never felt like he
knew what he was doing was wrong, but he actually did love me. Like, and that's just like, I think the movie does portray that really well. And I don't maybe agree. Obviously, I don't agree with that, but I do think that.
And his 14-year-old girlfriend, which was the fashion at
the
time.
It might not be to me like the thing that I care too much about to re-bring up. Yeah, and like you said, for it to be, I do think Sofia Coppola did it the best, and I do think the tragedy exists in what you're saying, that her life is supposed to be glamored up as this thing because she's Elvis's wife.
The worst life she could have ever had.
Yeah, and it's like one of the worst lives anybody could have. So I do think it achieves its message. So that's why I think I give it a 3.5, because maybe it's not for me, but it is a good
with film. The idea too that her parents were like, this is probably the best guy we could give you off to, you know? Because like there's even a line in the movie like, why not the boys at school? And it's like, whether you, obviously no one should agree with this, but it's like, on some debate lord shit, it's like some high school kid or Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
You know?
And
like,
obviously
I feel gross saying that, but don't you see, you could see where these people were thinking of, like, especially back then and even way back then, the idea of like marriage as a way to come up in life. You know what I mean? Like, married for love, marry Elvis, you know, you're going to get a lot out of it. Even if you guys get divorced in the future, like even everyone around it felt nasty, even if they didn't, you know, because there's like a lot of moments where it's like, they look in love, you know, like as wrong as it feels, it felt more real than something like Red Rocket, where you're like, God, this feels so nasty, you know?
And I mean,
like that moment, my favorite scene, and it's like I guess it all feels so weird to say because it's about like what this movie is about in its nature. But like when he's taking the Polaroids of her, I'm like, that's like such a good scene, you know? It's just a damn shame it has to be between like a 18-year-old, 17-year-old and Elvis, you know?
Yeah.
The movie also goes out of its way to point out that he waited until she was.
Yeah, like, that's what he knew.
He for sure groomed her, but they didn't make it wasn't on some R. Kelly shit versus like he did it a lot differently.
He didn't do anything illegal up until he could have, you know what I mean?
He played it pretty smart, right? Like he got her guardianship like signed over to his dad. Like that's really fucking creepy, but they did it in such a way that it's like it felt kind of like a business transaction, you know, like they literally just bought her.
Josh Giddey could only wish.
Hey, it's not a sports podcast, bro.
But I will say that sadly, again, adding to it, her having this very vain existence only really comes to our thoughts years later because she is Priscilla Presley, and that's why we know who she is, and she could write a book because, you know, Carl's wife from 1970 something that was going through probably something interesting as well, we don't get any stories of, and we're not gonna all of a sudden praise. So
yeah, sorry, Carl's wife.
as like much. That's kind of, you know, you talk about the human nature in that, and I think that movie talks about that very well. Is while she did live not the ideal life, she's able to tell her story of one of, you know, regarded as one of the best musicians of all time. and kind of what it was to be with him for so many years. And I think that is unique in its own merit. And obviously, she's gone now, right?
No,
She's
was
still
at the
alive, right?
premiere.
Yeah.
Dude,
Okay.
you gotta think she was a kid, so she's like 70 now, and Elvis should still be alive.
Yeah, Elvis should. Yeah.
I'm
He should
pretty
be
sure
really
he
old.
should still be alive. Like, if he didn't croak on the fucking toilet, I think he'd probably be like 80 or 90 or something like that. I'm guessing.
So,
I could be completely wrong. Maybe he'd be way older, but
yeah. Again, I don't really think I have any issues with the movie, but you can't really fight. Like if I did fall asleep on it, then I don't feel like I can really hide that to be like, oh, well, it did bore me. You know what I mean? A little
dude,
bit.
those scenes where she's just alone, like perfectly dressed, makeup, everything, and just completely alone. Like
I
not
feel
allowed to
it.
even talk to the people.
Yeah, I feel like how she feels, right? But then I'm like, I got that like a long time ago. You know what I mean? So I'm like, you're not establishing to me anew, like, and now I feel even worse for her. Like I already feel bad for her. So
Yeah.
what are you gonna do with that? You know? So, but again, Sofia Coppola is a great director in terms of being able to get me to her mind frame.
It is definitely a feelings movie more than like a plot driven movie too. And she does a great job of putting me in that headspace of what it would feel like to be in this situation. So, I mean, I gave it a 4, you gave it a 3.5. I say these are both passing grades. And if it sounds like we don't have much more to say about the movie, it's because that's why there's no episode of this movie, but it's very good.
Yeah, I think it did remind me of like, because I've seen Lost in Translation, like in Lost in Translation, I feel like I didn't resonate with the characters as much. Like I'm kind of like, I understand why you guys want to, but then it's not like anything
Y'all weird
really.
as fuck.
Yeah, but it didn't really close very well, right? Like it didn't finish very well. But this movie, I don't have any complaints about anything in the movie. I just kind of felt bored, which is kind of sucks because it's like 90. I think it's only like 95 minutes, 110.
That's a coward's runtime. Sorry, Sofia Coppola.
So
sometimes short movies feel longer than long movies.
Yeah, I just
If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
But yeah, that's all I gotta say about it. I would recommend it though. Definitely watch it.
Oh, for sure, dude. If it's like watch whatever came out on streaming or go see Priscilla, it's like, dude, you're gonna have a phenomenal time.
We'll see
Check
how
out
much
Priscilla.
if it gets any traction, but I do think she might be able to get some award.
Kaylee
love.
Spaney for sure, and maybe Sofia Coppola for Best Director. You got to think Dune's not coming out this year, so that changes a lot of things. Spots are going to be open that wouldn't be for some other films. You know, Challengers is not there, The Bike Riders is not going to be there. So yeah, you know, it kind of seems like maybe Killers and Oppenheimer are probably going to go for the top spots mostly. And then I think there could be a free-for-all, honestly.
The holdovers, homie.
Exactly. See? The Holdovers actually has a chance. Because Dune swept. Dune swept
without it being too focused yet because of the story on like narrative. So once it goes to narrative and it adds everything else that apparently the Academy just ate up, I do think it'd be like
History
we're talking
repeats
about like
itself, and this is going to be like the Lord of the Rings, where exactly he's holding up the Paul Atreides dagger, right?
this is like where everybody who's like I like movies champions it because they're like this is why I like movies. Like nothing looks like this, nothing.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we can always gush about Dune.
If we're going to talk about this is why I like movies, I think that's a good time as any to move on to Ridley Scott's Napoleon.
I agree. That's what I was thinking.
Oh boy, what ups and downs, man. Ultra
Napoleon.
hack Ridley Scott. I say that with love and affection. You can't be a hack if you're also not ultra. So, you know, he's got some of the highest highs and also a movie. He's got a movie that's got the coolest things I've ever seen. And also, I slept for like 45 minutes of it. This felt like the longest movie I've ever seen, even though it's definitely not, because I just recently saw Killers of the Flower Moon. All the movies we've been watching lately have been pretty fucking long, and Napoleon is the only one that made me feel like, oh my God, you know, like, and it wasn't even that I wasn't enjoying myself. I was just so, you know, like after he was exiled or with Josephine, I was like, all right, I'm good. You know, like I don't know, but the performance is pretty fucking good, I would say. I don't know if it's gonna be phenomenal, Joaquin Phoenix's career best or anything like that. And I have one anecdote that kind of maybe supports my point, but I want to hear why you like Napoleon so much.
Yeah, Napoleon.
This is an overwhelmingly positive spin on this, I would say, for both of us. I still do like this movie. I would like to finish it one day.
I would like to finish it. Yeah, no, I think Napoleon is obviously from Ridley Scott. I think one of the GOATs.
Kinda.
Hey,
Yeah.
Francis Ford Coppola. He's over here clout chasing. He said it himself. He has a better opinion than I do, for sure. But to me, one of the GOATs. I do think.
Leave the hot takes to us, Francis. You can go make Metropolis.
He has for a while now kind of addressed these historical movies, but he still always has his American point of view in it.
Well, he's British.
Big. Oh, well, there you go.
Did you not know that?
There you go. So then,
he's Sir Ridley Scott, dude. He's cucked by the monarchy.
So he has his point of views that are very modern, I would say. So he doesn't really care about getting stuff historically accurate. He just kind of wants to make stuff look cool as fuck. And he never really disappoints.
You know, well, to go to that point, you know why the criticism of that style of filmmaking is like, yeah, of course, the guy who used to make commercials is only worried about making things look cool and stylish and not really having too much substance, or the idea of like always moving on to the next thing and like, oh, I make 4 movies in 4 years. Like, I know, bro. I can tell that you're churning them out ultra fast. You know?
Yeah, I mean, but they're
also some of the most beautiful images I've ever seen. So
yeah,
that's where the term ultra hack comes from.
Because I do think, like, for example, with him, with the whole Napoleon concept, Kubrick thinking, you know, every day writing down Napoleon's thoughts from his diary, he was going to approach the film in, like, obviously probably the best way anybody could have approached any film. But still was like, I can't make this film, makes Barry Lyndon. Ridley Scott is such a Chad that he's like, I can fucking do it. It's not that big of a deal. And he makes his depiction of Napoleon, which I historically, I guess,
Historically,
seen in the
who
world,
cares, right?
No, I'm seen in the everybody apparently, like, everybody does, because I mean Napoleon is seen as the same thing as Genghis Khan. Like, they're seen as these conquerors.
Sorry, I thought you were gonna go about the historical accuracy of the thing.
Oh yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Who cares?
So he's just kind of seen as, obviously, Napoleon is a person of interest because dudes love conquerors. You still talk about Alexander the Great, the
Art
holdovers.
of War. I read The Art of War before I started dating.
Exactly. So like I don't know what that is, but that is affinity people have, and
tactics, bro.
I do think to be able to know somebody who is that seen as successful in the world, there is a part of him that's vulnerable that I don't think really people talk about as much. I know he loved Josephine, but up until this movie, I never really know about the diary and how much everything does seem to be more plotted in his obsession with maybe just conquering her. And I think he did that really well in the movie. But I think in its not being concerned with being historically accurate, you could make more of the funny comedic scenes, which
there's some funny stuff in here.
I don't know. Some people are still surprised by it. I think Ridley, obviously, with making House of Gucci, is like the biggest. I'm just gonna make shit that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, Jared Leto literally going, "Mom, mom."
Yeah, like there's
know?
no way that's not on purpose, you know. But again, somebody who's been making films for this long. So I did think Napoleon, like some of the war scenes on here, are some of the best I've seen. We saw it on IMAX, so I do think that's like, it's just Maximus filmmaking. Apple is.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think that this is a movie worthy of someone who's made 2 of the greatest movies of all time?
What do you mean?
Alien and Blade Runner.
No. What do you mean?
Like
worthy?
Napoleon. Like, do you think it holds up? Like, yeah, that makes sense. Or like, does it feel like such a fall off to you? Or no? Do you think it's like he's maybe cooking more now than he has been ever?
Well, because that's doesn't seem like a fair question, because it's like 2 of them are sci-fi and they're made up, and then one is based on Napoleon, like reality. So it's like one is trying to not be a biography while also, and that's all. So I would say it does hold up, because that's my argument that I guess I'm getting at, is that this movie isn't rooted in being a biography, so it goes out of its way to be artistic and stylish, and it does. And I do think the script is rather funny, and I do think the actress for Josephine does a really great role. So I I think so. I think it holds up very well. I think that's the reason Apple gave him that much money to spend on all this. I mean, some of the sets here are really good. So I don't think you give anybody this money to make this movie, I think they make a worse movie. And like the same way that, you know, he made The Last Duel, I think what I don't like about that movie is like in that movie, I don't like that Ben Affleck is Ben Affleck, and that doesn't happen here at all, which is why I think this movie surpasses. And I like The Last Duel, but
I think maybe more what I meant is that he's made two of the best movies ever, and yeah, sure, you can be like, they're genre movies, it's different or whatever, but I don't think any of his movies are anywhere near as good as those two movies. Like, I think it's like those two movies feel almost like an anomaly, and then the rest of them are like, okay, this is who you actually are, but there was twice where there was lightning in a bottle.
Well, because I mean, I think the consensus,
and some of our favorite directors, it's like banger, 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 you know? And it's like, he's someone who's made two bangers that I would say are better than most of my favorite directors' movies. But then the rest of them are like, I would take the lesser half of, I guess, like, well, is Martin Scorsese fair to say, like, I would take the lesser half of Martin Scorsese's career over, like, Ridley Scott's lesser movies? Or... Sure. I don't know. Is that fair? Or Steven Spielberg or somebody like that?
I mean, sure. Yeah, I mean, I just think he makes a lot of movies, but I mean, like, the consensus between The Martian, Gladiator would say that Blade Runner and Alien aren't, like, Blade Runner didn't get any love till later, and then, so I think, like, the Academy likes him a lot.
The Martian is already starting to get its revisionism of, like, this movie actually sucks. So things will always change, and I don't think the consensus is ever going to turn now that Blade Runner is like bad, you know.
But it, like, you know, when it first came out, it did it, and then you have, like, again, you have Thelma and Louise, which is another movie that I think is appreciated very much as well. So I just think
like his third or fourth best movie.
I just think he makes a lot of movies, and he's made movies that are more concerned with what he thinks is. He's more like a kind of like Zack Snyder, honestly. But
yeah, true. That's interesting that you say that, because I know you do not like Zack Snyder.
Yeah, but it's like I don't think though that Zack Snyder isn't trying to be funny in any of his movies.
Yeah,
like he takes himself seriously. Ridley Scott doesn't, and it's like for the things that he has made, all the maturity that he has for things, I just think he knows what he's doing on purpose. And some people, like, you know, you call him a hack for it, like, but I'm like, that's just his style. So either you're in it or you're not. Because I just think, for example, like, even in Blade Runner, I love that. Obviously, I love that movie. But it's like the attitude of the characters in this movie is so Ridley Scott. And I'm like, and that's every single time I watch one of his movies, I know exactly how his characters are going to be. They're not going to be any of the PC shit that we see. No, like, they're going to be this ideal version of whatever he thinks they should be. And I'm in on it. And so, like, you know, some of the, you know, Letterboxd mutuals, they said the Ridley Scott bias, like, maybe it's a bias, but I know what I'm getting myself into with Ridley Scott. I'm a huge fan of it, and he does it here, I think, up to a level where respectable, that I do think Apple was like, all right, yeah, let's give him the money. It seems cool.
I mean, yeah, they're blowing money left and right. They gave two of the most famous filmmakers gigantic budgets to make movies that are probably not going to make their return, but I guess Apple's the new art for art's sake, right? That's at least what it feels like with these two releases this year, because they are both long historical movies that are not necessarily, well, they have varying degrees of, like, acceptable subject matter, I would say. Napoleon is a movie that more people are going to want to, they might walk out feeling better, I would say, you know, like, because it's like, it wasn't so like, oh Jesus, I just watched people get demolished for 3.5 hours. It's like, you're seeing that in Napoleon, but war is a lot more exciting to watch than genocide, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
so it's like, there's scenes in this movie where, like, when the horse gets the cannonball in the chest and it just rips him open, like, that is one of the most visceral things I've ever seen in a movie. And it's probably not even the 10th coolest thing that happens in this movie.
And it's like the again, just praising maximalist filmmaking, which, you know, I feel like we have John Wick. It's like, this is just the tip top of it. You know, you have these war scenes of people that haven't been done in a long time with so many people. Obviously, there's this negative to it. A bunch of people got fucking hurt, but
Babylon's sequence is more peak than Napoleon. The one where they're filming the big war scene, and then the guy actually dies, and they're like, "Oh, he did have a drinking problem."
Yeah, and it's like they that'll just end up being like ultimate filmmaking, and it has to do with Roots, John Boorman, all these kind of movies that did have grandiose type of sets. It's bringing back that, and then also, yeah, I would say Joaquin Phoenix's portrayal of Napoleon is good. I like it. He looks a lot like him, which is always interesting. So
It's believable. Like, it's not like although he is Joaquin Phoenix, I do think he can kind of embody this character maybe more than if it was, I don't know, anybody else. Who's another guy who it could be? Like if it was Tom Hardy or something like that, I guess.
yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, we talked about when I walked out. It was like
Joaquin Phoenix. Who would be like a contemporary of his that they could compare? Like it would be like, oh, if you can't get Joaquin Phoenix, you put this guy in the movie. I don't know. Fucking if Keanu Reeves was Napoleon, you'd be like, what the fuck am I watching? Which is like, if you want to know what that reaction would be like, go watch Dracula, right? Like, what is this in the middle of this movie, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then you have I did say when I walked out of the movie is Joaquin Phoenix as Bo as Napoleon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I'm getting a little over the Joaquin Phoenix Courage the Cowardly Dog act because I know he has a lot more range than that. But I guess it fit for Napoleon, especially when you want to make him look pathetic. I mean, it's doing that thing that the Fablemans was doing when Sammy filmed the guy that he hated and he made him look so glorious. And it's like, why'd you make me look like that, right? And it's like, obviously you can't help but make a conqueror like Napoleon look cool. Bro, it's fucking sick. I'm a guy. I have guy brain. So when he shot the pyramid, like that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. But
man must conquer.
Yeah, I did think like in terms of maximalism filmmaking, yeah, it is there, but boy oh boy, like the Josephine and Napoleon stuff, it didn't really work for me. I did feel that they were in love, but it didn't seem as like, I don't know. It just didn't really work for me, to be honest. Like I do see it and I'm not like, wow, I don't even understand. Like I did think there was chemistry there and stuff. And one of the things I wanted to get to earlier is that Joaquin Phoenix took this role 10 days before they started filming. This was going to be somebody, I don't even know who else it was going to be, but that's been out there about how the script had to be rewritten for Joaquin Phoenix, like on the fly. And Ridley Scott was constantly helping him like get into like, okay, this is what we're trying to do. And I guess maybe that's why some of Ridley Scott's stuff doesn't work for me, because it does feel so like just like patchwork together, like if this is a thing, it's a job that I'm trying to get done so I can go do my other job, which is like going back to shoot Gladiator 2. So I guess it's like he's so good, but it doesn't always feel like there's like loving care there that it's like, oh, I took 4 years to make Napoleon, but when you can get by on talent and the talent is that high, it's like that's how you end up having like at worst a 3.5 star movie, which I think Napoleon is. People are like, this is a 2. This is like, dude, you're fucking tripping. Like, I don't smoking penis, bro. Like, this movie is not a 2 or a 2.5. Like, you're crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, I do think
I'm getting accusatory here.
It's cool to call someone like be like, oh, you guys really like this movie? Let me tell you why this movie actually really fucking sucks. And that's all in any of the communities that I'm part of, sports, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, you guys think you're playing good? Well, let me tell you why you guys have never been shit. Like, so I just think it's always going to be like, if people are saying this is good, I'm different, right? Be like, well,
the fact I gave it a 3 and I fell asleep, I still think says a lot, because I'm like, well, what I did see was pretty good, but it couldn't keep my attention long enough to actually keep me awake. I wish I could have seen most of the last battle, bro. I was fighting for my life during Waterloo. I was like, oh, I'm seeing cannonballs and all this stuff going on. And then I'm like, and then I woke. I was like, oh, it's over. Fuck. Finally, what day is it, bro?
Like that's yeah. Like, and I remember walking out telling you like that's how I felt for like Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I guess
a long movie is bound to do that eventually, right?
It's like I get it. You know what I mean? I was like, but then here I'm like there's still so much things. Like if it was a 4-hour cut, I'd watch it again. You know what I mean? It was like there's things missing here that also are supposedly integral to who Napoleon was.
Well,
Like,
such as life is Ridley Scott, right? Here's this meh 3.5 movie. Oh, wait, here's the 5-hour cut. That's a fucking masterpiece. And
Yeah.
I don't know why he can't make the best version of the movie within the runtime that is permitted to him, which is like, bro, 3 hours. What do you mean there's a fourth hour? You know, like, are you serious? But I get it. It's like, how do you talk about like what 15 to 30 years of a guy's life in such a small amount of time? But that's why people make documentaries, you know, and that's why Napoleon is one of the most covered fucking subjects on earth, honestly. What I wanted to ask you earlier, because you brought up the Kubrick thing. I've seen the discourse recently about how Barry Lyndon is Kubrick's Napoleon, and is that a good enough Napoleon for you? Like, I like Barry Lyndon a lot.
I mean, he's not Napoleon, so it's not a Napoleon movie. But
I know, but it's like, this is the gist of it. This is what Napoleon would have been like, except insert Napoleon and probably more wars and shit like that. But it's like the look, the feeling, the tone of it, you know, because this movie is kind of like Barry Lyndon, where it's like, yes, here's some really cool, intense filmmaking, and then like here's a funny, instead of funny fights that are shot with this handheld camera shit going on, you know, like Barry Lyndon's like this artistic, it looks like a painting, and then there's these scrum scenes out in the field where it's like handheld, you know, and I feel like you don't get that in this movie, but what you get is like these really crazy artistic scenes, and then like something really funny, like num 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 num, you know, so. I do think that this movie is inspired by Barry Lyndon, and I do think Barry Lyndon is a lot of probably what would have been in Kubrick's Napoleon.
Oh, no, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, that's what I've read, is that all the notes that he had for Napoleon, he just ended up using for Barry Lyndon, but not to a specific way that he would have if he made Napoleon. So, like, the fact that Kubrick was like,
it's like, oh, if this was a whole different thing, it'd be different. Like, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and that's obviously what I mean. So I wouldn't say that Barry Lyndon is Napoleon for me. I'm like, no, Napoleon is Napoleon for me.
Is it good enough though to have just gotten Barry Lyndon? That's kind of what I was getting to.
I mean, I really like Barry Lyndon, so yes. I mean, yeah, it's a really good film. But I still would have, I wanted to see, you know, I would have rather seen his Napoleon though, because I think it would have been even better, which is crazy to say, but like, yeah.
My imagination says this movie would have been better.
No, yeah. I mean, I guess if he thought it was too hard to make, it just seemed like it was too much. And if it's too much, it's that is what Napoleon is. He's too complicated of a character. So I do maybe. Well,
you know, filmmakers are not always the smartest critics of their own self. He also thought he couldn't make AI, and AI is a very good movie. But I'm like, really? You didn't think you could do this?
No, I mean, like, I think that's the thing is, like, I think what he means is that he can't make it as good as he wants to make it. I can't portray the things that I actually matter in this story to these people. Like, I don't know how to portray it to you guys. Like, you guys just don't get it. Like, I have to baby it down for you guys, and I can't do that because you either get it or you don't get it. And I'm like, he's just that kind of person. Like, he's like, I'm a fucking genius, you know. And and I think he proves it, like with Barry Lyndon, because it's so good that you're like, oh, see, so had he approached actual subject matter that was tougher, he can't do it because he's saying, like, I can't make this as good as I want to, and whatever is coming out is me compromising. So like, that's insane. Right? I mean, that's why I think he's my favorite. But you know, but like, that is an insane amount of like, that's somebody who obviously makes stuff at a way, way, way lower level of creation. I feel that all the time. Everything that I make, I'm like, this is not what I wanted. Even if I like it, it's not what I wanted. And I think he's somebody like that. Every single time he made something, he's like, it could have been better though. Yeah, I guess.
Destiny has brought you here. Destiny brought you this lamb chop.
Yes, sir.
Don't say you want to see Dudes Rock if you don't actually want to watch Dudes Rock.
Yeah. I would. Again,
what about the criticisms?
Big historical buff.
I mean, I just think this movie's boring, which I don't think is a crime. You know, I never said this movie was bad. I think, but what about you? What's wrong with this movie in your eyes? Because it's not a 5, so why is it a 4?
I had brought up kind of like not knowing. I think this is like if you don't know, like if you don't like history, I kind of don't really understand it in terms of like, is history boring to you? Because if it is, then it's kind of like, well, why would you find, like, did you fall asleep during, you know, when you'd watch the Napoleon docs at school? Like, I wouldn't. Like, I did find it very interesting. So that's why I'm like, I'm very tied into, like, I just find this interesting. Why it's not a 5 is, I don't think it's as well acted as it can be. I don't think it goes through Napoleon's life as much as it can. It does portray him just as a sensible person
Do you think it's as sexy as maybe some people have been saying? I'm not saying Ridley Scott's like the sexiest movie ever, but this is another subject we're going to get into later with like Saltburn. But is it hot under the collar? You know, are you like, wow, Napoleon is hot movie?
I didn't hear about that, but I don't think so. I don't.
No, kind of tame, right? Especially, especially
yeah.
like the whole thing that he's a cuck. Like, why? I mean, it happened once. I was under the impression it was gonna be like, damn, this was getting cucked the whole time.
He also
like,
wasn't in agreement with this. I don't really feel like he got cucked by his choice. It's like that's what everything came after. Being cucked
and being cheated on are two completely different things.
He's like, he got cheated on, and she paid for. Honestly, she paid for that. Like, in terms of, it's not even equal. Like, she overpaid for that. Like, the life that she had because she couldn't bear
overpaying for existing, basically.
Yeah, like, because she couldn't bear a kid, like a boy, and then kind of similar to Priscilla. Like, she had Priscilla's life, and then it got completely taken away, and then no one knows who you are. And then, you know, you have this other king who knows how to get to Napoleon, and I'm gonna take Josephine, and obviously knows how to press his buttons. But I think that's where, like, it's the historical inaccuracy is where it comes into play. I don't know how much it really has to do with, like, oh, it's because he took Josephine, or it's like, I was already wanting to kill this fool because he thinks he's young, he thinks he's the shit. I think Napoleon was a guy who's obviously a conqueror, so he's trying to take everything. So I don't really know if people were just doing stuff to get on his mind, or the diary from the letters, like you said, later explained to me, are the British media let those out.
British propaganda, bro. Napoleon's a fucking little midget freak, even though he's the size of the average man back then, right?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a gigantic cuck. Look, he likes to eat pussy that hasn't been washed for 3 days.
So I think like the movie for me,
which is all true, but it's like, god damn, they paint him like he's some monster for like the average man's, you know, vices.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, he's to me, humanize somebody like Napoleon because he sits in the same thing as Alexander the Great, where you're like, these are. For some reason, we see them as people to remember, but they're actually some of the, like, worst parts of a human, like, thought process to, like, as a man, I must conquer. But for some reason, Genghis Khan, Alexander the Great, Napoleon, are what quote unquote great men do. And that's like all of the history up until before us, that's what they thought, you know? So I find big interest in that, because a lot of the stuff that they were doing was, like, I think Napoleon, Alexander the Great, or Genghis Khan were just conquering because guys had to conquer.
Dudes had to rock, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of wraps it up for Napoleon. That's another movie where it's like, I don't have enough good or bad things to say to make it an entire episode, but I do generally lean positive on it.
Oh, some of the CGI is shit too.
Such as life,
but
right?
Such as life, yeah. Like it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's a $200 million movie or whatever, $100 million movie, so it's unacceptable, honestly. But I would say it's more inspired than your average IP fare.
It's weird.
I always will give that a call it bias. I don't fucking care. But yeah, I will give that a pass over something that's not inspired at all.
Well, it's fine, I think, for me, when it's like there's other aspects of the movie where in other movies they would, like, for example, Marvel, they would falter, but then they show that it's fine.
Let's leave them out of this for a second. What about a movie like The Green Knight with that fox? Does that take you out of the movie? That doesn't take me out of the movie at all.
No,
because it puts me more into it.
I think
like,
it's kind of
that
like,
weird little freaky fox that doesn't actually look like a fox. It
and
looks like a
just
anthropomorphic fox.
And it also just kind of like you're okay. Like, you're also gonna judge a movie based off of its presentation. You know what I mean? It's like the idea is that the fox talks. Like, do you get that or not? You know, I do. Like,
You've
I
already
do think
seen giants, cum rags, witches.
Yeah.
And now you're like, that fox has totally killed the vibe.
So come on, man. Like, you have to do, like, when you there's human limitations to things. You know what I mean? Like, you can't fucking expect everything to look real.
We talked about this with Dream Scenario. Those sequences with the commercials being mad ugly and looking like Adult Swim fucking fake ads in the middle of a movie. But that is still more acceptable than when, like, you're watching Marvel and you're like, this whole thing looks like a commercial. Why does this all look like the Nissan commercials?
Like, it's when you know that they shot the whole thing on the volume, right? So you're like, no, none of this is real. Yeah. Even the blue sky is not even there. So it's like, that is when it becomes crazy, because it's like, at least Napoleon and be like, they shot outside, so the sky is fucking real.
Dude, we got to watch Godzilla -1, because they were saying once you've seen Godzilla -1, it will turn you into a truther that Marvel is committing money laundering by spending this much money on these movies. They're like, how does it not even look as decent as a $15 million movie?
I would say that I do think for them, it's the cost of those movies does come more from getting the actors and like promoting the movie.
Because you know what's funny? I wouldn't be surprised if of the 200 million, like 10 of it goes to the CGI, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Insane.
Yeah,
that's insane.
I mean, that's a problem.
You know,
but
like, oh, you know, well, they only give 10 million. Like, well, because that's the entire movie's budget. And some movies look better than that.
When you bring up that they, or not just you, but everybody, like they bring up that they don't even have like they outsource it, right?
China, like,
so that's what I mean. It's like I don't think they like when people think like they don't use not even half of that budget on the CGI though. That's what's wrong with it. You know what I mean? It's
300
like,
grand.
It's like if you use 300 grand on the CGI, like I promise you, this thing would look insane. But that's not the case because they still want to get now. Obviously, not as many A-listers, but it's now. I think it's the promotion of the film.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
true.
it costs them so much.
Throat,
yeah,
right?
like how much, whatever, like the Marvels, we might have not have watched it, but how many commercials did you see about it?
Is it all money laundering if you're only seeing these ads on Disney Plus, Hulu, and ABC? Like it's just them putting money in their stuff. Pockets,
yeah,
right. Yeah. Allegedly. I don't know if any bots are listening to this.
I just think, like for example, like for sure, to think that Disney doesn't money launder the biggest company in the world.
You're stupid, pal. Well,
yeah.
Hey, pal, he's blowing from stupid.
Yeah, exactly. Like that. I'm pretty sure that's how they got that rich, you know. But hey, who's gonna tell them they can't do that?
All right. Enough hating. Let's talk about. You want to go Saltburn, or do you want to save Saltburn and talk about maybe another movie you've seen? Because I know you've seen a gang of them lately.
I wanted to talk about the first ones that we've both seen, and then we could venture off.
All right. Saltburn.
So the hating continues.
Whoa, I actually have a chill, first of all. Chill. Because you could really think someone is a hack, and then you watch their first movie, and you're like, oh my God, you have leveled up from being making one of the dumbest fucking movies I've ever seen, Promising Young Woman, today. I watched it pre this podcast because I wanted to see. I will not say anything because I saw that you have it under your want to watch on Letterboxd, but I kind of need you to see this movie like as soon as possible so I can tell you, so we can talk about this one.
I added it, I think, after the movie though, because I was like, she only has 2. Let me watch the first one. Now I'll get to it.
Well, hey, you know me, the poet. I like to not avert my eyes. So if I'm hating, I'm like, all right, let me go do my homework and hate a little harder, right? It was so bad it made Saltburn better.
No.
And Saltburn was a great movie for like an hour and 10 minutes. And then it completely lost me. Emerald Fennell, not Fennel, Fennell. Wow, does she have an eye for capturing like beautiful images. I mean this in the least derogatory way possible. She probably makes some of the best music videos of all time. Or ads or campaigns or something like that. But maybe I'm gonna say second or third best looking movie I've seen all year. I'm gonna start on high notes. One of the best looking movies of the year, for sure. I don't even want to say shot on film because the holdovers made me look like hold this El Bozo.
I don't think it is. Or
I don't think so because some of it's so ridiculously drippy and grain and all of that. You're like, all right, bro. Someone went a little too high on the Visco today. You know.
I did. Maybe it is
the gold field.
It is always interesting to see it twice, because when the first theater I saw it was a Dolby. What do they call it when it's like it's a different type of laser that they use in AMC Prime, my bad. I saw it on the Prime screen and I thought it was gorgeous, you know what I mean? And then yesterday when we saw it, I was like, is this shot on film? Like I even questioned if it was shot on film because I was like, this kind of looks pretty flat sometimes. So I don't think it was, or then I didn't think that's the first time that I was like, oh, screens matter. Like I was like, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, they actually, besides just the IMAX and the regular one, there's other like the Prime bullshit that they sell me is like, oh, there is a difference, you know, like.
But I'm pretty sure we also saw it in Prime last night because we just saw standard AMC viewing and we looked into this a while ago. All AMC screens are Prime.
No, wait. Sometimes when I go to the LA theaters, it's a sub. Like they have the regular theater showings and then they have Dolby at Prime. Yeah, exactly. So.
Oh, that's different. That's what do they call that shit again? I forget, but
so
a higher experience. Let's just say that.
and I'm just being honest with you, where it's like I always just thought, be like, okay, sure, it's a little bit nicer, you know what I mean?
No,
But
it's
it's like
exceptionally
you're
different.
bullshitting me on why it's the same price, so how is it any better? But no, I mean the laser is better. I do think they probably upkeep the screens better to the theater that, you know, sometimes when we go into one of the more back theaters and the one we go to all the time, I'm like, when's the last time they actually checked on this freaking screen, right?
True.
So maybe that's it for this one. But
do you remember when we were watching the holdovers? I pointed out to you. I was like, look on the top left of the screen,
It's
like
falling.
it's all black and like falling apart. And
yeah, so
Yeah.
I think it was the first time where I noticed how different the two movies I had seen in the theaters was. So, because I thought the same thing that you said. When I first seen it in LA, I thought it was one of the most gorgeous movies I've seen in the current year. Probably had it like third too, honestly. Probably the top 5 for sure.
For me, I'm like Oppenheimer and Killers fight for 1 and 2, but then I'm like, I could maybe be like Killers 3, Saltburn 2. I think Oppenheimer. It's like, yeah, it's a gorgeous looking movie, but it's so much of the effects and how it's edited. It's like, so maybe 3.
Yeah, I'm like,
Bro,
I don't.
that shot in Killers where the oil bubbles and then the natives are dancing, like that is just like, wow, you know. And it's like, but I also felt like that with a lot of what I was seeing in Saltburn too. And I think with Oppenheimer, it's more of the editing.
I believe Saltburn. It was shot. Let me make sure. Now I'm curious because I do remember seeing. I think Kodak put pictures of it.
Because you know what I mean with like Oppenheimer, it's like the scene where he's being interrogated and the lights become like flashing like the bomb. It's like that's not necessarily cinematography and color grading. That's a straight up effect. And I'm just talking about like in camera what I'm seeing, and it's like Saltburn and Killers are shot so beautifully.
It
You
is.
have your answer here?
Yeah, it is
We got
because
some dead air
it is shot on film.
Okay.
So I do
Is
think
it on
it's
16
it's
or what? 'Cause it's like,
35.
oh, we're okay. So
So it is
it does
Linus.
have that square format.
Linus Sandgren, which is he's
I was listening to
been in a lot of good movies.
or watching a YouTube video of Emerald Fennell discussing how they shot some of the scenes. One of them was the Saltburn entrance of when Barry Keoghan's character gets there, and the creative choice to shoot the film like that is because the place is so fucking big. She's like, I need you to be able to see the top and the bottom because there's these gorgeous paintings on top and then this crazy, like you need to see how big this place is. And we'd be sacrificing a lot of that if they shot it on a more wide format, you know? So it's like, nope, we need this square because you
Box.
need to constantly see how big this place is. And it does a great job. It's like, if she fails in a lot of other aspects as being a filmmaker, but her eye for how film should look, she's got something. And I do think that she eventually is going to make like one of the best movies I've seen. I just don't think she's done it yet.
Because I think
She's got the right attitude. I'll say that too. I like her approach. I just think sometimes it's like, you know, maybe you want to be a little provocative and then you end up kind of being cringe. I'm not saying that that's what happens. I'm just giving an example where like like trying to provoke somebody for the sake of just provoking them is kind of how I felt about this movie in a lot of aspects. Where I'm just like, I get what you're doing, and yeah, that is like fucked up or whatever, but okay, now what? What about that, you know? And it's like, that's where somebody like maybe even Paul Schrader, it's like, okay, here's the deeper meaning of that. And I don't feel like you really get that in this movie. But then also, like I said, I'm just like, oh my God, this movie's so fucking crazy looking, and the performances and, you know, the music and just the overall expressionism of the movie versus like the plot of the movie. Like, that's why I'm like, as a vibe, I really dig this. As the story itself, I'm like, it's okay.
yeah, no,
Tropey, been done before, been there, done that. It's a twist on something that's already been done, which is like, that's okay. We said that with the not with the holdovers. What was the other one we said that with? Was it the last movie we did? Dream Scenario, where it's like there's other movies that kind of tackle these same themes, so that's okay. You know, I'm not marking you for that, but it's just, you know, I guess when it's been there, done that, and you're not adding something crazy to it, it's just kind of like, all right, well, that's fine. It's a nice addition to a certain type of movie. But I'll let you go on because I don't want to ramble too long about, and I don't want to start to sound like a hater about a movie I don't actually hate. I bumped it actually after watching Promising Young Woman. I was like, never mind. Saltburn is at least a 3, and this movie is a 1.5.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect time to insert the whole like, if you're gonna say the movies for the girlies and the gays, like please include Coleman, because I like to have fun as well.
In this case, Alvaro.
Yeah, please include me. It's like
The girlies, the gays, and Alvaro.
I understand what this movie is trying to say. I don't think its commentary has anything to do with the ruling class. I think its commentary has more to do with just like this like feeling that always as a person that you're deserved of more, and it doesn't matter what kind of person that you are, if you're poor or middle class or rich, that you always feel like you deserve more, and people will always exclude you of these things because you don't fit in. And I think Barry Keoghan really does play that off really well. I think it's for somebody who I really, really admire, I think it's one of his better performances, just because I think for a lot of the runtime you think he's pathetic. A lot of the runtime you think why is he doing all of this, or like because you think he's trying to basically live in the Magic Kingdom for most of his life, and then you really realize that he has those ulterior intentions. There's so many characters that can read through the bullshit. You as the viewer can't for a while, because you're kind of like, what are they so?
Well, the twist that this takes, I don't think it's obvious. Like, you can see that there's like a malicious intent, but you're like, I didn't think it was gonna go there. And I don't feel like I feel like going from that to where it ends up is very heavy handed. You're like, oh, okay. Maybe another filmmaker might, kind of try to set that up, that might happen at some point. And here it's just like a smack in the face.
Because I think like a lot of the complaints that I've read of it, like she didn't need to show me how it, like he set it up. Like could have just killed her at the end with taking the thing out and be like, oh, so he did all of this to keep that, like, for him to get the estate.
Well, but that approach was done in The Power of the Dog, and I didn't find that entertaining either.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I disagree with that, because
like, wait, he killed him.
Yeah, because
spoilers, obviously, right? We're spoilers at this point if you're in the episode.
I just don't disagree with it. Well, like, yeah, I don't feel like
that's a few weeks.
That's what I don't feel like is the point, because I could tell you to be like that. Yeah, he kills, the maternal figure in this movie at the end, but that doesn't mean, like, what does that mean? Because that's not the point of the movie. Like the point of the movie is, like, for example, be like, he has this person who has very similar to Parasite, in terms of wanting to, you live with your enemy for so long that at one certain point, like, you do become obsessed with being on their side and being like, maybe if I could convince them that I am worth of being here, I don't even have to do all this. But the second that goes away, you kind of realize that, all right, the plan continues. And I do think that, like,
this is where that doesn't work for me in this movie, because yes, that's what you think is happening in the movie, but then you find, like, spoilers heavy here, the reveal is like, I don't actually feel that way. I've been lying to you, the audience, and to them that I feel this way. I have no desire to be amongst these people. I premeditatedly manufactured this whole thing even happening. It's like he picked his prey from the second he saw him. When he's sitting with that nerd, that's the guy I'm gonna get. And then that's where it kind of becomes like Killers of the Flower Moon, where it's like this systematic dismantling of these people, and like in this movie, it's like they kind of tell you, like, he kind of flirts with the idea that he is in love with them, but then it's like, no, that's to dupe you and to dupe the family, like it's a double dupe.
I mean, I don't know, because I'm like, his whole speech is going, in the beginning, everything that he's saying is like, I loved him. And like, was I in love with him?
Yeah, I loved him.
No, but yeah, like at the end, but I hated him. Like, I hated him.
Yeah.
Like, that's when it flips. Like, I hated him. And it's like, well, that is life. That is people. Like, you love people who you fucking hate. And it's like, what do you reason?
Like, oh, okay, here we go. Phantom Thread. Like, that's literally just the beginning of Phantom Thread.
And so it's like, to me, to kind of say that heavy-handedness in terms of revealing, and like, I guess, like, in terms of how she lays it out, like Parasite, like another movie that everybody like loves when it's done, but then when when she does it, it'd be like hack, and it's like, well,
you think
okay,
that this movie is like equal near to Parasite?
No, that revealing to you what everything is. Obviously, Parasite does it way better in terms of, from the get-go that they're going to scheme against them. But this movie just doesn't tell you that they're going to scheme against them. And it's like, well, I don't like that it did that. Like, well, it's exact same thing, this movie that everybody really likes. So it'll be like, so that's when to me it becomes kind
Yeah,
of
but
like,
it's not him. Be like, you're not him.
Exactly.
Be
You're like, it doesn't. Be like,
yeah, your crime is that you're not.
You're
him.
not a man.
Like, so,
You know what I mean?
No, not that. You're not Parasite. This movie is not as good as Parasite
because it's not. But that's like, but I
and
think
it's not
like,
because she's a girl.
be like, it's because like you're comparing it to like it's about the classism. Like, cause I keep reading.
I don't
like,
even think it is though.
Because like they keep saying like, for example,
She
like
says
she's
this
defending.
This movie is about excess and obsession. Be like,
Exactly. Like
okay,
that's
and
what I'm
about
getting
it
at.
though? Like, or nothing. Just here, look at it to the maximalist effect, right?
Like I don't know anybody who lives in Saltburn. I don't know anybody who has that lifestyle. So to me, this is fucking like, how do these people live? And then that's the whole thing of the whole movie is in terms of like, look how this maximalism exists to a point where it's just utter bullshit. And like the whole movie is about that, and he has it at the end, and even he himself gets lost in that bullshit. Even though he has a goal, I'm gonna just fucking. I don't even like. How do you really plan that out? It's not like he was like, and then I'm gonna wait 5 years, and then she's gonna see me in the.
Well, I mean, that's what he says. He's like, I've been waiting 15 long years to make this happen. He's like, it took a long time, but it's finally here.
Well,
and
yeah,
then they do show you exactly how he did it over. Oh, and then I sent the text to frame this guy, and then I put the nail in the tire.
No, but that part, yes.
Nail in the tire.
That part, yes. But I'm talking about like at the end, having her see him at the coffee shop. Like, sure, he had the intel info, but you can't plan like.
No, that's
it's gonna
a happy
take
accident.
Four times. It's gonna take 4 years, and I'm gonna see her at the coffee shop. Like, no,
Because
be like,
technically, he doesn't get his when he gets paid out in the beginning. That's like, all right, that's the least I can get out of them is I got paid out, and then happen chance, a happy accident. He's like, oh look, here she is.
because you have to.
Because he already laid the groundwork that he was trying to pipe the mom in the very beginning of the movie. He tried to pipe the whole family except for Jacob Elordi. Queer baiting.
And he's like, you have to sell the thing to a certain point, similar to Mean Girls. Do you have to sell the thing to
Mean Girls for the fellas? No,
you have to sell it to a certain point where the person is still gonna want to come back and offer you, be like, yes, come back to Saltburn. So he has to get involved in this. He gets himself. He does start to like Jacob Elordi. There's no other reason why he would. Spoilers, be like, slurp on his cum. Like, there is no other reason. Like, what does that have to do with this plan? And it's once you're in the world, you are also a victim to it. Why does he get called the bootlicker? All of these things. And I'm like, I don't think anybody who is like really like, you're just approaching this movie as in like, so she's saying the poor guy is bad. Like, first of all, he's not poor. So I don't understand where that, it's not like Parasite because these person aren't like dirt shit poor. He literally has, he's not happy with what he is because he's excess. He's the same person as these people. And now the thing continues in Saltburn. Except like, look at the fucking, like the Succession type of like, I'm going to do all of this extra shit to just take this place from you. And like, what was the point of all of that? I'm just evil like that, bro. Like, but then lost in that is the fucking like, I'm going to fall in love for him because like you said, walking out, what did he do to him? Like, you're right. He didn't do anything to me, but I just want what he has because they say I don't belong. But guess what? I'm just like you.
I mean, that's what makes it a compelling movie is the fact that Jacob Elordi's character is like probably the realest person in this entire movie because obviously Barry Keoghan's character he is the worst person in this movie. There's no getting around that. Be like, yeah, these people may be the the benefactors of people before them, but they are not great people or they are not people who have ever done anything, like the people who live in Saltburn. They're just products of other people's success.
Yeah.
It'd be like, so I see that, but then like they're also like cartoon characters. You know what I mean? Like they're not really even characters at all, any of them. But Jacob Elordi's the only one who has any semblance of being a human being. So it's like they're just like wildly out of touch, And it's like I guess that's the crime that they've committed in this movie, is that like they frown upon someone that they don't understand at all, right? Because they're so out of touch. But I think that's what makes the movie compelling at all, is that Jacob Elordi's character is like, okay. You look at him and you're like, all right, we're going to hate this guy, right? Like he's going to manipulate Barry Keoghan. The first time you're watching it too, I feel like you're thinking like, maybe Barry Keoghan's not going to be the bad guy. It's like kind of like Infinity Pool. It's like the rich are going to do this like fraternity-esque like hazing ritual of like making him one of them, you know, like what kind of beast are you? But it's not that. You're like, oh wow, he's actually a sweetheart, and he's got Oliver's best intentions in mind, and he wants him to fix his. Oh, let's go see your mom, mate. You know, and you're like, oh, you're poor. Like, don't worry, I'll help you out. And like, let's not talk about it. You know, it's like that's what makes it an interesting movie to me. I think if Jacob Elordi was a bad guy in this movie, I'd be like totally on his side. You know, and I think that's even what's interesting. It's like it's a unique perspective to even. Have your protagonist be this like Barry Keoghan type character.
Yeah.
But for me, like the hack stuff is like, I'm talking about there's scenes where like within 2 minutes, I'm like, I'm feeling euphoria. And also like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, like at the same time. And I think that's why I'm like, most directors don't make me feel that way. And okay, sure. If you want to take the route that I'm being a misogynist because I don't like Emerald Fennell's film or whatever, I'd be like, okay, fine, sure, I'll take that. Be like, but I don't think that's true at all.
But I guess like my question would be like what scene does what does she do?
The scene where he is after Jacob Elordi dies, and then he's talking to the sister in the bathtub, and it's like it becomes sexual. Then it becomes like this really intense moment where she's like talking him down, and then they kiss, and boom, she's dead. I'm like, it's like so much stuff happening all at once. It's like no subtlety. Like for me, it's just like, what is this? You know, it's like, let me do everything I could possibly do in one little moment. And I'm like, it just doesn't work for me. I just don't like it when I'm looking at it. It doesn't make me feel good as a moviegoer, you know? I don't know how to explain it more than that. How do you explain a bad feeling to somebody?
Yeah, no, I guess like that's like you said in the beginning, just feeling different. Like I've hooked up or been with girls who are that weird. They hate you, but they fucking love you, and they will do things like kiss you and then stab you. So to me, I'm like, these people are weird. So to me, I'm like, yeah, she sees through his bullshit. And she's fucking gone off the head. The whole movie, she's literally not okay. So to me, I'm like, he manipulated her enough to be able to get all of this out of her. In the same scene where he could kiss her, she's going to fucking be dead the next scene. So I guess, yeah, it is just a different type of like, I don't see anything there that for me would be like, what a hack. Where I'm like, that was so bad. I'm like, I've seen a lot of worse stuff, you know what I mean?
Well, call them out. Be like, you know, if you want to say somebody's a hack, like, go ahead.
No, like, I don't. I don't. Yeah, because I don't really like. I don't use the word hack because I'm just kind of like, I don't really feel like she thought she was doing this. Like she thought she was doing what? Like I don't understand the terms
like
of
the
this.
idea is that she thought that this was good, like, and I'm saying it's not good. Like that. Yeah, that. Like I don't. It's blunt. Yeah. But it's straight up to be, yeah, I don't think this is good. Like, why? Because my mind is telling me it's not when I'm looking at it. You know?
Like that's where I do think it's like.
That's like looking at a paint. That's why I'm like, that's why a movie is like looking at a painting. Like, this is good. Like, no, it's not. What are you talking about? You know? And it's like, my brain says yes, but my brain is telling me no.
Yeah. I guess so. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know what to say to that personally.
I mean, I don't think there really is, you know, like I don't think that you could try to take as much of your personal shit out of watching movies or art as you want, but you can't. Like, it's not, you're not a robot. Like, so you're going to take your personal biases into everything. Like, and I'm okay with admitting that. Like, so when I see something that I don't like, yeah, maybe another director did it, but guess what? I liked when they did that. And you give me a bad feeling when you do that.
Because I guess like your response was that she just did too much in a scene, but I'm like, that I don't, that happens even good movies. There's a lot of things that happen in one scene. So I guess like to me, I'm like, that doesn't sound to me like it's actually like an issue with the writing or anything. It's just, it's too much in one scene. But, but what does that mean?
I also said the heavy-handedness of going from this like building towards one climax and boom, he's dead. Boom, they're all dead. Like, oh, okay. And then this really weird, awkward moments of him just hanging around, and then like, oh, and actually, this is how I did it. Like, I didn't think that was very good. I don't like how she told the story at the end. It's not the story. I don't like how she told the story. Like, so yeah, like maybe you do, like, and that's fine. Like, but I did not. And yeah, sure, there could be another director who is probably a guy because that's the numbers game of it. Be like, but I liked when that person did it. Be like, I can't even think of a movie because I'm not even going to be like, oh yeah, this movie reminds me of Parasite in any sense at all. I think they're totally talking about different things. But yeah, I didn't like when she made me feel bad in certain parts of the movie where I'm like, I just don't like this filmmaking.
Because that's what I've seen. They're like, the complaints are like, this is Reddit and Tumblr's Parasite. Like, I guess
you like Tumblr, right?
Yeah, that's what I was like. I'm like, I don't.
So
I don't.
Emerald Fennell has commented on that. She's like, I like Tumblr though, so that's not an insult to me.
Exactly. So I'm like, I don't understand. Be like,
well, Tumblr is a pejorative to some people. They're like, you're Tumblr, which is lame, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Be like,
so and that's okay.
Be like, sure, but it can't be stated as a fact. Like, that's what I think is funny.
None of these are facts; they're opinions, and you can't just be like, well, I don't think your opinion is correct, so
because that's how when she goes like,
right?
well, fuck you. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that when she says that to people, it's like, well, okay. Like, I don't think it's good. Be like, why? I just don't think it's good. Okay, well, fuck you then. Like, you don't have a critique. It's literally like in the movie, he's telling her, like, you use the word so much. And be like, so you have no argument with what I'm saying. You just don't like the style in which I'm saying it. He's like, yeah, be like, let me see yours. Let me see what you would make. Oh, well, exactly. So I don't understand. I don't really understand in the same movie that's kind of talking about that to kind of be like, I just like to me, I guess like I never really used the word hack because I'm like, that's what they wanted to put on the film. Like, what are they trying to, what are you saying that they were trying to do and didn't do? That's what they did. Like, so that never really makes sense to me. Like in terms of, yeah, Ridley Scott, he's a hack. Be like, why? I don't really understand. What do you think thinks he's doing? Like, he's just doing what he wants to do. These directors that's what the director is. Like, I'm going to make this the way that I want to. And it's like, oh, this could be done better. How? And be like, and then it's like Parasite, be like, oh, it's one of the greatest films of all time. I don't understand, but this isn't the same thing. Like, now you're arguing about like something that did you get this film? You know what I mean? That it bleeds into that. So every single time I've seen the counter arguments to this, it's kind of like, well, you're addressed, like, it doesn't seem like you really actually came in here and took what it was saying. You just kind of thought like the heavy-handedness is like, this got explained to me. But in the same terms, like, there's movies that people don't like because they don't get. Like, so, which, you know, I kind of like.
So, I mean, which one's your counter argument here? I don't get the movie. I don't have an argument, or I'm not explaining myself because like my
I don't get in terms of like, I don't think you've really told me in terms of what makes her hack. Like the
story like about an hour and 10 minutes and I'm like, okay, the rest of this sucks. I'm done with this movie. Like, what do you want me to say?
No, I just wanted to know.
Is like, well, you've never written a movie, so therefore you should no longer comment on movies.
I didn't say like you. I'm saying in general, like, it doesn't ever like her reaction of like, why does she say? Because every time I've heard a critique, it's always been like, this is this and this. Like, so do you like those things? No, I don't. Like, so why do you think, like, so now this movie's actually bad? Like, so then I do think it's kind of funny, be like, when they're like, this one is for the gays and the girlies. Like, I thought that was a joke, but then maybe it is. Because I'm kind of like, well, this is real in terms of like, I don't live this fucking life, but this is very real. So, we talked about some of the performances being like whatever, dull. But like you know, Richard Grant for me is like a person like literally just is completely lost in terms of what kind of lifestyle he has. He has all of these things, he has all of these losses, and for him it's so easy to just be like, let's continue with life. Life is so easy to him that it's like there's these losses, and you're supposed to believe that. And it's like, we keep going. And money fixes everything. And you find out like, no, it doesn't. Like, these people have the same fucking struggles as anybody else. And maybe it's like that point of view is weird, but it's like that point of view exists in various other movies. And I do think it's kind of like, I don't really understand the critique towards her specifically, when any other filmmaker that would make this movie would probably do the same exact things. And maybe if it just had somebody else's name on it, people would be like, oh, no, it's, you don't get it. And it's like, well, I think like for her, it's like, the movie does what I think she intended to go out pretty well. And I don't know. I haven't heard a critique yet that I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense to me. It always comes out of like, I just didn't like it. And it's like, well, okay, that sucks, I guess. You know?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I could see you're doing the thing where you're like, this fits my agenda. You know, so it's like, your argument here is that we go, okay, well then you don't get it, right?
No, I don't think so. I'm just like, I'm saying every other,
Well, you just
every
said
other
like, this is
argument
for the girls and the gays. Be like, well, I'm not. Be like, so then you don't get it. Be like, it wasn't for you. Be like, okay, sure. Then it wasn't for me. Like, that's another thing I'm okay with living with, that this movie is not for me. Like, sure. I still thought it was decent. I just don't think it's great. Like, and I do think there's a lot of moments in this movie where I'm just like laughing at the parts that are not funny. And then like, yeah, there's a lot of parts that are funny too. Be like, I just thought it was like really just okay. Like, I didn't think it was that provocative. I didn't think it was that sexy. Like, yeah, it was a cool scene when he slurped his cum out of the fucking bathtub or whatever. Like, but it's fine.
You know, like I just wanted to know what the reasoning was. Like, for example, the differential in terms of liking this movie was so different between us two. I wanted to find out what it was, and I guess I don't really know what it is. It's just like you said, you don't like it. Be like, oh, okay.
Well, is there an answer that's good enough for you where you're going to be like, okay, that totally, I understand now, and like
okay, for example, like when we talked about Malignant, right? Like when I tell you I don't like it, it's because I don't think it's well written. I think he doesn't have no idea how to write any fucking character.
Okay, well, if I'm saying a movie falls off for me after the bottom of the hour and there's an hour left, like I didn't think the last half was well written. There you go. Like the story sucks, Vic, so that's the writing, right? Like I think the last half of this movie sucks.
Yeah, sure. I think so. But yeah, I guess it'd be the writing, but if it's the same writing that's in the first half of the movie, that's all I'm like, what significantly changes? I
like it more when it is just this like vibes movie than when the actual plot is revealed. I don't think the plot is that interesting.
Yeah.
Like I think it was cool when it was just full blown like maximalism, you know, and even then I was like, this is it? Be like, for full blown maximalism? Because if we're talking about that kind of stuff too, be like, Babylon did that idea better as well, of like, look at how the hedonism of like the ultra rich or whatever, you know, and you have this cool, crazy Hollywood party. And then like, even the one in when that integral moment when everything changes, I'm like, this is it, you know, like,
I mean, that's a budget conversation. $100 million movie versus a $15 million movie, you know, shot on film, as opposed to one that could do anything. They can get people to, you know.
Well, I mean, we're not. This is the thing, is like, I feel like you're debating me about it, like, and I'm not really trying to debate you about it, you know, like I'm just telling you why I don't like it, and then it's like, well, you're wrong. You know?
No, I'm fine with. I was just trying to find out what it is, the reasoning, what is so, because you did call her a hack.
There's an answer that like you're looking for that like I'm probably not going to be able to give you, and then you're like, well, you can't give me an answer.
Well, because like, you did call her a hack, so that's like a very passionate word to use. So I was like, what about her is a hack?
Do you really think I feel this passionately about her because I called her that? Like, I called Ridley Scott one too. Like, I would do it again.
I don't feel that strongly to use the word hack about any director besides maybe James Wan. Like maybe James Wan, because it's the only hack
I've him too much.
I really no, or like I don't really see. Like what do I think that I could make that would be better than this? That I'm like, you're the hack. I'm not the hack.
Flaming Hot Cheeto movie, you wouldn't be like, wow, this is hack job right here.
No, because that was the intention for a shit movie. You know what I mean? I'm like, they knew that making that, but like I don't. That's his like I don't. That's what he wanted to make.
Okay, well, I guess the taking away point from Saltburn can be like, I'm more willing to disrespect a director, I guess, right?
I get or like to. I don't know. I that's what I was trying to get the answer to. It's like, why don't you like this movie? But
I also watched her other movie and I like her even less. Like, I feel Saltburn is still a substantial upgrade from her other movie, which is like, I want you to see that movie because I really want to talk about the ending of that movie to you.
But yeah, I mean, I did one thing I wanted to bring up is I did find it interesting that how many people, our theater experience was how many people were there.
All girls.
Were there for how long has it been out now? Like a month?
Yeah, but I mean, this is like, what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. It was out in LA for 2 weeks before it finally came here.
No, but even in general,
here last week to Orange County. So.
In general, yeah, maybe that's it.
Not but this week, last week, like so.
So it's actually been out for 2 weeks, but that was interesting. I don't really see any of these movies ever having that much of a crowd. So I found that
Jacob
interesting.
Elordi star power.
People walking out recording their reactions. That's what I mean. Like the twist was not very heavy-handedness to these people. Like they did not see it coming. So that's how I kind of do. Like as somebody who watches 500 movies and be like, I saw this coming. Be like, sure, because you watch movies all the time.
I didn't mean the heavy-handed. Like not the fact that there is a twist. It's just like this moment, dead.
No.
What?
That's
Like,
I know that's your
okay.
complaint, but I think the majority of people's complaint is the
You know
heavy-handedness
what? We
at
haven't
the
even
end.
talked about this yet. Mr. Movie Shirt over here, the Movie Shirt Maestro. That is a movie where it has a similar fucking your main character. One of your main characters is just fucking dead in the middle of the movie, and I think that a movie like No Country for Old Men, and okay, sure, Emerald Fennell, if she's not a hack, I'm gonna compare her to the Coen Brothers then, or the Coen Brothers. Be like, I don't think that your movie was as effective when one of your main characters died as something like No Country for Old Men. There you go.
Yeah.
I don't think the story trope of a character dying halfway through, or like Psycho, which is like a movie she referenced because it has a similar thing of like an integral character dying. Like, I don't think you do it as good as these other movies that have done a similar thing.
Yeah. It's very different type of movie, but yeah,
I mean, obviously it has to be. It's not a Western. It's a fucking.
But one is like halfway through the movie they die, and the other one, Jacob Elordi, is like, okay, there's like,
what, like 40 minutes left?
Yeah, like 30 minutes left.
That's still a significant amount of time.
So it's like, I don't think the majority of the movie doesn't have them, but yeah, No Country for Old Men, half of the movie, it's gone. And I think people who don't like No Country for Old Men or don't really like it as much, like, so what happens at the end? Guess what? Because there's not a montage showing you everything that happened. So people either like it because it's confusing or it's not. Like, I think I take every movie as what it's portrayed to me, as when it's shown to me. So I could like a movie because it doesn't give me the answer, and I could like a movie because it does give me the answer. I ultimately judge it as its whole, not really as comparing it to, like comparing Saltburn to No Country for Old Men. Like, that's just two completely different type of things that they're trying to tell you. So I don't really think like you could be like, in this story they do this, and in this story, because that's not how creativity works, or that's not how.
I mean, we've seen The Player, though, so we know that when movies are being pitched, they do things like, and then the character's going to die right here. Be like, and you're like, okay, well, we can work with that. It worked here. It worked there. It's like, that is how movies are made. That is part of it, is like the idea of like, well, we're going to do a thing that you've already seen before because you're used to seeing that idea. Not every movie is trying to introduce you to some brand new, like, idea of how you can do a film.
No, but I think that's
and I think this movie's not doing that. Be like, and yes, it's very stylish and beautiful. It's got cool performances, but that's about it for me. It's as empty as the people in Saltburn to me. Like, that's how it feels. Which is like, okay, sure, maybe that's the point. Be like, if that is the point, then I don't think it's that interesting of a point. Which, still cool looking, still a good movie.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm trying to think. Yeah, that's the comparisons are always going to be made. Obviously, I think the selling of ideas to a studio exec, like, that's why you have to sell it. Like, again, they're not the people who really are in the interest of making something new. It's just to get it produced. So obviously you have to sell it. This is Alien and whatever. So I don't really think that is like, look, she's trying to make Psycho. Like, no, that's just how you sell the movie. Because somebody who doesn't watch movies, how do you get them to like, no, look, this good movie and this good movie mix? But I don't think that's really like she approaches making the film as such. Sure, maybe there's obviously influence, or like, the talented Mr. Ripley, but that just like all of us watch movies. So like your influence there's going to be, even if you do it on purpose or not, you're going to get influenced.
Yeah, I mean, and then we do talk about this a lot, about the idea like, well, if you watch 500 movies, like, yeah, but we are. So I'm not going to use that as like a negative thing when it's in my favor of being like, oh, well, you're extreme. Be like, well, duh, that's why I'm here having a podcast. And yes, I am talking as an extreme person who has an extreme thing. And I'm talking about how other extreme people feel about it. Like, obviously, I'm not talking about how like my mom would feel about Saltburn. She asked me today, she's like, oh, did you see it? And I'm like, yeah, you'd probably think it's crazy. Be like, I'm not coming from that perspective. So I never really even try to take that into account, because I know I am an extreme movie person. So yeah, like, I'm not your average consumer, like, and neither are you. So
yeah,
I'm in too deep now. I've almost seen 300 movies this year. Be like, sorry. Be like, if I'm not gonna come at it like I'm a person who's only seen 10, I can't. Like,
yeah, I do think there's more attention to this movie. We talked about Jacob Elordi's star power. The second movie, we brought him up in this
movie
episode.
would probably be dead on arrival if he wasn't in it. Like Barry Keoghan and somebody else. I mean, Barry Keoghan, maybe. I don't know if he has star power yet, because this is one of the first movies where he is like the true selling point of the movie. Because like with Killing of a Sacred Deer, you can't yeah, retrospectively you can say that, but they weren't like, hey, we're gonna make that movie with that little freak from Ireland. Like, bro, nobody even knew who he was.
Exactly.
Like, so this is his first moment, but Jacob Elordi has something Barry Keoghan will not have, and he's extremely fucking hot. Like, so that's when you get a movie theater full of girls, you know, and like, hey, when you go see the Willem Dafoe Inside movie, it's probably empty for one. Like, it two, it's definitely a bunch of guys if there is people there. So
Exactly.
this is what a movie star does, you know?
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree with that.
And Priscilla, I don't know if it's just because he wasn't in it enough or something like that, or maybe I saw it at the wrong time, but I have a feeling Saltburn is going to probably do better at the box office than Priscilla overall. But when I saw it, I was like 7 million, and I was like, my theater would have made me think it was more than that already. But who knows?
Like you said, it's
Because look, really at the end of the day too, this movie, talking about being extreme people, $7 million tells you that this is not a real movie that exists to people other than like us, I guess, right?
because I would say it's like these movies aren't really concerned. They really aren't concerned about making money because like why do they make limited releases? Like it is to build hype. That's what it is.
I mean, do you think that limited releases, like, I guess it's cool from like some gatekeeping, exclusive type of I go see shit that you haven't seen, right? That's cool and all, but why do movies why do they do that, right?
I just think it's because
it's cool to lose money.
Well, no, it's like people don't care. Like,
yeah,
at
but
the
if
end
you give them an option, they might.
they might, but they don't. They've proven that they don't. Like why? Okay, perfect example.
The holdovers was going up before they pulled it.
Perfect example here. Like At the Gates, this movie that had one trailer that I saw at the movie. Oh, it's about a Salvadorian fucking handmaiden. Let me go watch it. They're gonna do a early release in Orange County. They took it off. Why? Because I was the only person that wanted to be interested in Orange County to watch
Did you see that trailer?
2-3 times. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah, but
And
you think that trailer's on YouTube? Do you think that trailer's on Twitter? Do you think that's whatever? Like, that's what they mean about word of mouth. How can a movie have word of mouth if you, who go to the movies sometimes 3-4 times a week, only saw that trailer twice?
Yeah, and it's like, but then you go.
That's sandbagging your own shit. Like, you're not even giving it a chance.
I know, but I go to the Q&A, right? You find out the producers there, be like, bro, they're losing money putting this movie out. Like if you're not a huge studio putting out this movie and you're trying to do it, be like, I want this story to be told, you're gonna lose money. So who's gonna lose money on purpose? So okay, all the people who care about watching this movie, exactly, a multi-billion-dollar company that can do those things.
They're all multi-billion-dollar companies.
Not the studios.
No, I'm saying the big studios. You know?
And that's what I mean. Like, so these movies are not being made like, okay, sure, the holdovers is. You know, some of them are to a certain degree. Yeah, Saltburn is to a certain degree. But then all these other movies
is Saltburn A24?
No.
It's not?
No,
I don't even know what it was. I didn't even think about it. I was just like, I was like, okay, I could see it, but I didn't think it was. But I just wanted to ask. Thing. So it's probably some British shit, honestly.
And I just took off the showing. People didn't fucking care.
Wait, so how did you see this? They took the showing off. What do you mean?
Like, I had to, like, they were going to show this movie in certain cities before, like, a somewhat wider release, early showing. And when nobody fucking cared about it, they just reduced it back to LA and New York, one showing per city each. And, like, for example, I told one of my coworkers about it. Be like, oh, look, you can't even go see it on AMC anymore. It's not there. Why? Because nobody booked tickets for it. Nobody fucking cares. And it doesn't matter how good the movie is, how bad the movie is. Everybody that is a general audience consensus is under the appeal that this movie is not good. I don't care. I'm not going to go watch it. So if that's the case, like, you're not going to push. And that
I
goes
never
back.
think that people not watching the movie is a sign of it not being good or not.
No, I'm just saying people don't care.
Well, yeah, but if they don't know it exists, how would you expect them to care?
They'll be like, wait, you're asking
like
a minor studio.
Look, when you go outside of the AMC and there's those, I'll just say, I don't know who they are, obviously, but like, there's Asian people out there handing you tickets to movies or whatever. Come see this thing. You're like, I have no clue what that is. Like, maybe if I had seen it on TV or a trailer of it, I would maybe be interested to it. Like, but because you're just a person on the street handing me, come see this movie. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, but they don't. You're comparing them to like Marvel. Like, they don't have the budget to do that. That's why. That's the point. That's the problem. It's like, if I'm trying to make a real movie, what am I wasting? How much smaller is this
place than someone like? Well, I guess A24 is a bad example, right? But I don't know. Maybe they have a bad marketing department. This place. Like, that's also the studio that made that movie, you know?
I just don't think they have money. You know, like, you're pushing a movie about something that is No one cares. That's
Where's their
the point.
Instagram account? Have they put as much work into their Instagram account as you have into ours? Like making shit like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
probably
like,
not, right? And you do it for free. Be like, so.
But even if you did, be like, it's proven. Be like, people don't care. Like they just. Bo is afraid. Was that movie not marketed half everything? Be like, who watched that movie?
Well, they didn't really though. They teased it. Right, and then they put the trailer out 3 months before the movie comes out. When most trailers can come out sometimes with a whole year before the movie comes out. I'm like,
dude, there's people who make a TikTok video right now with 10 followers, and because it's fucking intriguing, they'll have 10,000 views tomorrow.
Because we talk about this too, that A24 will also sandbag their own movies. You know, they're like, oh, how come I never seen a trailer for this A24 movie that's coming out before? Be like, but you got the money to do it for Priscilla.
And
you got the money to do it for that. To them, so you are obviously telling me that you don't believe in this movie.
No, but you have to choose which ones you do. Even A24, be like, when you have Christopher Nolan telling him like they're the only studio willing to take a hit to make a movie where people will be like, this is good, because you're taking a hit. It doesn't like you could try to sell the people, they won't. People do not go to the movies. People don't sit and watch a movie unless it's on Netflix as one of the top choices. Like, so how are you going to try to fucking... You have to market yourself towards people who are snobby.
It's interesting that you brought that up, too, because now that all this striking stuff is starting to kind of come to an end, and, like, Bob Iger has been starting to speak, because, you know, he's basically the Don Corleone of Hollywood, right? As the guy who runs Disney. He admitted recently in an interview, he's like, we have gone way too far that we now think that every movie, if it doesn't make $1 billion, is a failure. And like that has become a benchmark that we set that is becoming unrealistic to anyone besides like 5 movies that come out, you know? And it's like, so now like The Holdover's making 20 million. Like, why is that a failure if The Holdover's made 5, you know, like I know you're barely making anything back. If that, like, that's not a failure though, you know, but the Holdovers is a failure because they didn't make $100 million, yeah, you know, but it's like, but why? Like,
because
it wasn't
monetarily
supposed to make that much money,
because
this
is a business that we're talking about.
But The Holdovers is never going to make $1 billion.
No, I know, but their studios live off of making profit. So if your movie doesn't make profit, why would I make it?
Because Blumhouse does it too, right? Like, we're going to make them for 5. And if it makes 25, we're happy. And then we can continue to keep making them.
And it's like, why are they shit? Because you don't have the time. Like Night Swim. What is the ads that I've seen for Night Swim? None. Only when you go to the movies to see it. Why? Because they're not going to spend what it actually takes to spend to get this movie marketed. Why? Because no one. It's not good.
Well, they're not doing it for good movies or bad movies, though. So what's the answer here? Just fucking everything fucking sucks?
Well, no, they do it for Killers of the Flower Moon. Like
no,
Apple does
it. Like The Holdovers. I'm not talking about some like, epic masterpiece. I'm talking about like, well, The Holdovers is an epic masterpiece, you know, but it's like The Holdovers is better than Killers of the Flower Moon to you. Be like, so really, it can't even get a trailer?
Like, it has trailers. You know what I mean? Like, I saw trailers for it. That's what I mean. Like, as somebody who is in the fucking a snobby film, like, oh, I watch films and I try to, oh yeah, I watch this and this. That's who this is marketed to, and so yeah, it works for me. But like anybody who actually doesn't fucking care, that's why they're not doing it, because people don't care. Like when I go to the LA movies and these showings are early access, why is it that the A24 movies that I watch, they have all the trailers for the movies I actually want to watch? But when I go and watch, I don't know, any other movie here in Orange County, there's never any trailers for the movies that I actually want to watch. It's all the shit that I don't care for. And it's like, well, because the people who are watching this movie do not want to watch this movie. And sure, there's some people who bleed over, but it's not the majority. And so then why would this studio spend money on promoting itself when people don't care? It's like, oh, Sound of Freedom had no fucking promoing on TVs. How much money did it make? Like, obviously, the game there wasn't making money.
It was hundreds of millions of dollars, though. Like, that movie's made, that's the whole thing, is that movie, look how much money this movie has made.
Exactly. No promo. So that's why, like, that argument makes no sense to me, because, like, you didn't want to spend on promo. Movies don't need promo if people want to see them. People will watch them. People have them on their watch list without no trailer. I'm gonna watch this. I'll be Blade. I'll be there. Doesn't matter what. I'll be there. Like, so the Holdovers, nobody cares. And like, and that's the truth. Like,
do you have a positive spin on this, or no? The studios are right.
No, I'm not saying the studios are right. I'm just saying, like, when you've made as a person, as a company, when you've made something that's supposed to last, because like A24, it should last because they make real movies. So why would I make a film that we're gonna lose money on? Like, they're the only ones that are willing to do that because they're the only ones that are stupid enough to do that. But because we live in a world that it's all about making profit. The movies are profit.
Okay, well, do you you're saying that, but do you actually feel that? Like, A24 is a stupid company? Like, I love them, but they're
No.
stupid?
I'm just saying, like, in terms of a business, worst move you can make. Why would you make movies that you lose money on?
All right, I mean, I get that, but you're not a business, so how do you feel about it?
So I'm saying, hey, make these good movies for me, but when you're dead in 10 years, because it doesn't affect me, but it does affect them. So then when like studios don't want to make movies that lose money on, that's not a crazy thing to me, because I'm like, that's how any person is. Do you want to make shirts that you lose money on? Because maybe one day somebody will look at this as appreciative as art.
Well, hey, they make Morbius. That lost money. Like they make movies all the time that lose money.
But it's not scheduled to lose money. But when you know something is not interesting,
you don't think that Morbius or something like that is like, or Madam Web, like you don't think Madam Web is like, you're just throwing that out there because you don't want to tax write it off? Like, do you think that the studio executives who made Madam Web are like, we got like 200 mil at least coming on the opening weekend? Like, you really think that?
Because if the studio exec watches the movie, what is different to them from Iron Man and Madam Web?
Well, so they have executive brain.
Exactly.
Like, so that's the point, though.
So
but you don't, though. So you know the difference.
No, but that's what I'm saying. But they're not taking the risk willingly. They're like, this movie's gonna lose fucking money. They think, why isn't Madam Web gonna make money? It's just as good as Spider-Man, and it is. Like, what is the difference between it? It's like, no, this is more story to this character. Did the execs know any of that? No. So that's why they green off. But when you're gonna make a film about this college teacher from the 70s, why the fuck would I give you money about that? I'm not interested in that as exec. I don't give a fuck about that. But them, they're like, oh, look, the fucking kids make TikToks about Morbius, Morbin time. They obviously like it, right? Because they don't fucking actually pay attention. Those are the people who make the decisions on movies. So they're like, why are they not marketing this? I don't know, because the people who even make this don't give a fuck about this. Like, the only people who actually care about this are anybody who sees this as art. At the end of the day, it's just like, it's not art. It's just like sports. Like, this is a money-making machine. They're not going to make stuff if it willingly loses money. Like, and like, independent films get made. And Christopher Nolan talked about it. I couldn't find one person to make Memento. Nobody wanted to make that film. This isn't going to appeal to anybody. One of my favorite films, but guess what? Made no money. So Christopher Nolan has to live with that, or whatever studio exec. Yeah, we have the validation that we're our house, but we lost money. And guess what? The tax write-offs, all of the things you have to pay, it doesn't matter how much artistic clout you have. But you're like, give us my money that you owe me. So to me, it's not crazy when the studio doesn't want to promote these things when people don't care. And like, it's very obvious people do not care. Why do the people not watch the Oscars? Oh, God, the whole Trevor thing. Why do they always pick the most boring movies that nobody has seen? Nobody cares. Nobody fucking cares about these movies. And like you said, we're the extreme movies that we like, no, these are actually real shit. And they are. But nobody cares. That's not what people want. So I don't see it as crazy as studios not wanting to market something like any of these movies, because why would I overspend on something people already told me they don't care about? Like, I'm not going to change their mind. Like you said, I'm not going to change your mind about Saltburn. So why am I going to change your mind about it? If I promo this in your face 100 times, maybe you'll go watch it. She-Hulk was promoted in my face 100 fucking times. I've never once been like, I'm going to throw this on. But like, there's so many things that aren't promoted in my face at all that I'll be there. Infinity Pool, did I ever see a trailer? One trailer. I'll be there. Like, because I'm the weirdo,
How many times did you see that trailer, though? We saw that trailer a bunch in the movie theater.
And like, did people go watch it? No, because they don't fucking care.
Well, no, because the movie that they were going to see, that a trailer was in, like, they weren't seeing that movie either. But like, it's a double-sided sword. Like, dude, you can't tell me, like, when you only have two showings of a movie, Anatomy of a Fall. You know why I haven't seen it? Because it was at 9:45 in the morning and 11:45 at night, or whatever, or 10 whatever. I don't even think they stay open that late. 10:30 is like the latest showtime, right? Who is supposed to go see that movie? An unemployed person?
That's what I mean, because it's shown to the demographic.
You're not even giving one showtime at 6 p.m., a time when people are off work. I would go see that movie if I could. And that is a huge complaint. Be like, that is a huge, huge complaint. Be like, yeah, me and you don't see that because you have the luxury of, I can go to LA to go see whatever movie comes out, right? What if you live in Kansas and the Holdovers never came out because they just said, well, you don't care about that, right?
But that's what I mean.
But you didn't even give me one opportunity to see it.
Because you're the only person who cares in Kansas. So why should I spend $150 million on you?
The Holdovers was making more money every single week. Priscilla, the same thing. Be like, so you also are killing your movie by putting it straight to streaming too, because you just have it for free.
They don't see it as killing the movie. That's actually like what I'm getting at is they don't see it
and
as
that's stupid is what I'm getting at. Like, and I feel like you don't agree with that that's stupid the way they kill their own movies. That's why they say you chop your own legs off.
It's stupid, sure, in the context of an art snob. It's not stupid in
but
terms
you're
of a
not
business.
a business guy. That's what I'm saying.
No,
So,
I know,
like, who
but this
cares what
world
they
is
think,
run by
right?
business. Like that's what. Like, it doesn't matter what I think. It matters what is the majority. Because you're saying like the one guy in Kansas on the Reddit thread that's like I couldn't watch it because it wouldn't show here. Well, yeah, because nobody else in your town wants to watch it, and everybody else is like I'll watch it when it's on Netflix because streaming did that. Convenience. All of us are fucking Americans. Like if it's on the TV, I'll watch it. You think I'm gonna get up and go? You deserve my time? No. People said no. You do not deserve my time. It's like so. How are you supposed to argue with that when that is the reality? Like sure, one person might want to watch it in this remote place. I see it all the time. It's true. Like, but I don't be like at the end of the day. You're the anomaly.
Get fucked.
Yeah, like I don't understand why I'm supposed to.
I like this. I like this.
I don't understand as what you think.
Leave
Any
these
business
billion-dollar companies alone and
or
get fucked, loser.
Any business, it doesn't have to be like we're talking about at the gates. That's not a multi-million-dollar company. Like we're talking about thousands. Like A24 before it was A24. Like, I'm not talking about studios that are huge. They take the losses. They'll make The Beekeeper. They don't give a fuck. Like these guys like this shit, right? That's like not my conversation at all.
That's the answer too. Like no.
No, but they're willing to take the loss, like because people are gonna go.
Movies that people do like, you guys won't even show those.
Because like the people are gonna go to The Beekeeper.
But
More people will go. Yes,
the answer is they're not.
More
because
people
Operation
will go.
Rouge. Who went to that? One guy we know,
More,
right?
But more people than the holdovers,
Argyle be like,
or more people than fucking Saltburn. Like so, you could argue for your art as much as I want. Like, but you're unrealistic. You're living in a world where like we're pushed by profit. This is the world we live in. This is everything we live in. Everything we like is pushed by profit. And to be like, and why won't the studio do this? You're asking me why I won't lose money? Like why I won't lose money on something you're showing me no interest in? What do you think I am, stupid? Like it's like if people actually cared about these,
you do a lot of stupid things all the fucking time.
No, but like, even Morbius, right? It lost money.
And then
how much money did it make?
It because they got trolled into thinking it would make.
But how much money did it make? Like 80 million?
Well, the answer is none because it's negative. Be like, that's the other thing. Be like, yeah, you
Exactly.
made $100. So you made $0 on this movie. The
Exactly.
holdovers, you actually did make money.
No,
on this
they
movie.
didn't. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, they do, dude. If a movie costs $5 million and
what
it's
I
up
was-
to 21 over a certain
That's
amount of
talking
time,
about
then,
Matt
bro,
Damon, what he was saying. Be like, okay, but how much did the producer put in
that's
to make
still a
this?
profit, though. It's some profit is still better than no profit.
No, but
right?
you
If it's
don't know. But
business.
I'm saying that they're telling you that there is no profit there. That's too close of margins. They're like, how much did they use on promotions? How much did they use on paying Paul Giamatti? How much did they use on getting all these sets made? How much did they use on getting all like the producer? How much did he put down? How much do you have to pay the theaters for putting this movie in the theater? I don't know any of those numbers. All of a sudden, I'd be like, why don't you guys want to lose money? I'm telling you, like they're not making any money on this film. That's why they're willingly pulling it off. Why do they keep re-releasing Avatar? Because they keep making money on it. If they weren't making money on it, they wouldn't be re-releasing it. Why do they pull these movies? Because they're not making money on them. Like so, like making any money, sure. You're talking about $1 billion company. Like I made $1 million on this. Like you mean my lunch? Like that's not money to them. Like you're like in your like obviously me. Like I love that movie, but I'm not in it for making profit or not. So to me, once it gets made, thank you. But them, they just see it as another L, another L, another L. And guess what? All of these fucking old studios that used to come out and make these movies before, they're not around anymore because they literally kept like, well, we do it for the art. Well, guess what? They died.
Like, yeah, and it was worth it. Like, I don't give a fuck about you, the business person.
Exactly.
Like, that's why
to me, you know what I mean?
Like, and you are, yeah, you're not them. Like, so who gives a fuck, right?
But these are people.
Like,
you're acting like they're a machine, though. Like these are people who work at these places
and do nothing.
But I don't know that. I don't know that. I don't. So I don't make that judgment. I don't fucking know what they do. I don't know if their intentions
The
is
fact
to.
that you don't know what they do tells you they don't do anything. That's usually how it works, right?
Nah.
You're a boss at work. I don't know what she does, and guess what? She don't do nothing. Like, that's what they do.
Yeah, I mean that's an assumption. You can go with that, but it's like I'm just like, to me it doesn't, like, it's not this crazy.
David Zaslav. I've never worked in movies before. I run one of the most prestigious movie companies of all time. I've never done this before.
Yeah, like that's who people were like. That's the world we live in, bro.
Yeah,
like,
it's lame as fuck.
I mean,
Like,
like,
I don't, just because that's the way it is doesn't mean it's not lame as fuck. Like,
No,
it's
it
not
is,
I'm
but-
not trying to say to change it. Like, I'm not an idiot. Be like, but it's lame. Be like,
No, yeah.
And the way you argue it makes it feel like you're like, it's not lame though. Like, but it fucking is.
It doesn't matter if it's lame or not. It's the reality. That's what I'm saying. It's like it doesn't. It's like to be like, why aren't they shelling? Why isn't A24 losing money on shelling Priscilla? Because why would A24 want to lose money?
Well, they already did by making Priscilla.
Exactly, but why lose more? Exactly. Like, I'm not in agreement with that because I like their movies. So don't lose money. Like, lose the minimal amount of money that you need to keep making more of these. But don't please, like, don't bankrupt yourself so that who's going to make these movies? Neon is. Because so what about when Neon bankrupts themselves?
Then there'll be someone else.
Like,
That's the nature of the beast. Like,
there'll be someone else. But like, there's someone else, to just throw money away. But then you're asking me, like, why don't you just want to throw money into the fire? Because it's my money. You know what I mean? It's like, well, I'm not talking about Disney because good when they lose money, good. I'm talking about the fucking studios that are barely making 2 or 3 films, and then you're like, why aren't you losing money on this? Like, why aren't you advertising this more? Like, what money do you think I have to advertise this for? Like, how much do you think advertising costs? You know what I mean? It's like, that's all of these things. It's like, sure, it's easy to say, but you should lose money. Like, okay, you should lose money. Like, no, I don't want to lose money. Like, so to me, it's not like insane to be like, oh, these smaller companies that make 2 or 3 or 5 films a year don't want to lose money. They're trying to find the perfect balance of like, if we make a good enough film.
These 2 to 5, which is like, that's not A24. Like A24 makes what, 12 movies a year, something like that. Like you probably see 6 of them of the 12 that they put out, right? Because like that's what they're putting in theaters. The rest of them they do on Apple, and then like. They never come out, right?
Well, because like that's the perfect one. It's like, okay, if they pick up a movie to
but the one you're talking about, like people who made this At the Gates movie or whatever, be like, they're going to die whether they made a lot of money or not, because that's just how it works for studios that put out 1 or 2 movies a year.
They were like, sure, but like that's not they're not hoping that happens.
Well,
so
nobody's hoping to die. Like,
that's what I'm saying. So why would they make the choices to die? But like A24, for example, perfect. They pick up 10 movies at the film festival. All 10 of them they haven't made. They're just distributing. This one's okay. But if we on Apple make this one pop off, we'll make money off of this one, and we can fund the one we want to make.
How did like that too with the streaming stuff? It's like if you put a movie only on streaming, that one will always be fun and be like, what is that? Like you literally gave it away for free, because the assumption is that people are going to sign up to watch this movie, right? Or it's like Apple paid A24 a lump sum to get the movie. Like, well,
which is more money than they'll make putting it out in theaters.
Well, we all know this. Who's that going to go to? Like to make more movies, or probably like the executives, right? Be like probably the executives.
Well, like A24, the assumption is that it goes back. Yeah, I mean, the assumption is based off what they do. Is that it goes back to the movies? I don't know.
You know the A24 guy too, and he's like, "Oh, well, we make arts for art's sake." Well, are you making the least amount of money possible for that to be true? Because
but like, doubt it.
Probably not.
Because
so then you're not even still core to the core. You know, you're like, "Hey, I want to make cool movies, but I still need to live in a mansion." You know?
Exactly, because if you're asking somebody to give less, you're like, "Well, you give up what you have." Like, no, I deserve this. I greenlight these movies. I deserve this. Be like, and I don't fucking know if he does or not.
Saying in the player, and I'm. Like, yeah, you're fucking wrong.
Yeah, like, I don't know if he does. I don't know. I don't know I don't assume because somebody's a director or producer, their shit is easy. I don't know what they do.
Well, the directors, the producers, you mean the executives?
Look at the execs. Like I don't assume that every single one of them does nothing. Because how does a company run if no execs does nothing? That literally makes no fucking. Sure, in a bad company, execs do nothing, but in a good company, like execs do a lot. So that's kind of like, well. So do you want a company to last or not last? And it's like,
I honestly don't give a shit if they last or not. Be like, make the cool movies.
But they do. That's what I'm saying. They do.
And then someone else will. Be like, and then that's it. Be like, I'm not like, oh, A24, you need to last. Like, I don't really give a shit if A24 lasts. I enjoy them while they're here, and then one day they'll probably be gone, and it will have been a good time.
Yeah, like see, that's what I mean.
I'm not like, oh, A24, this monolith that needs to exist now forever.
Like, but that is unrealistic to be like, and they should just bury themselves. Like, well, why would they do
bury themselves? I'm just saying though, be like, I'm not a corporate brain. Be like, I'm not gonna. Oh yeah, you're right. Definitely do everything that's good for your corporation. Be like, why? Like that doesn't benefit me at all. Like, just make the fucking movies. Like until you can't. Then if you can't, cool.
That's not corporate brain. You're just kind of saying you're like, it only matters to me what you do. Like, so why would anybody care what matters to you? I'm not saying it only
matters to me. I'm saying my point of view on it. Like, and my point of view is obviously not the same.
Yeah, because we don't work in movies. That's what point that I'm getting at. You're asking somebody to do something and you don't know how to make a movie. Nobody does. that it's usually saying this shit. Like, so you're asking me to be like, your business be like, lose money for my sake. Be like, and I should say yes to this? I don't understand why you think people will say yes to this. Like, that's my point is like, I know you don't care, but they do. Like, so that's why these movies aren't getting promoted. That's why these movies aren't getting pushed more, because people do not care about them, and they're not about to lose money just to lose fucking money to make me happy. Who the fuck am I? What am I going to do for them? Nothing. Literally nothing. Like, oh, the one guy in California likes this fucking movie, and what the fuck does that do for me? So he could be more edgy, or he could be like, oh, actually, this movie that nobody watched, and what the fuck does that do for me? Like, so then I'm like, it's insane to be like, why don't these movies get pushed more? Simple question, simple answer. People don't fucking care. Like, I know that bugs me as somebody who likes these movies, but that's the fucking game, bro, that we're in. Like, no, people don't care up until it's fucking Spider-Man or Batman or whatever. That's the only thing people want to see. Or if they do want to see something else, put it to me on Netflix, bro. I'm not about to go waste my $20 to watch this.
Dark.
Yeah, and I don't see it as defending a corporation. I see like that's just real shit. As like anybody who wants to make money, be like, ask the drug dealer, like, why don't you just give me drugs for free? Like, you lose money, be like, you have a lot of money, right? Like, what? Like, what world do you live in? Be like, I don't understand that approach to be like, yeah, Disney should lose money. I would love if Disney went out of business. But guess what? All the Disney adults, they're the ones funding everything. They're the ones making fucking clubs. Oh, we should need to have the pins and shit like that. Why don't people do that for other stuff? Nah. But the Disney.
Well, because they're not stuck in the corporate dick. Like, it's lame to do stuff like that.
But people suck it all the time for Disney. That's what I mean. Like, for Disney, because why? Because people like it.
If A24 adults start existing, and the whole point is to be like, you should mirror the Disney adult, like, it's a fucking sad existence.
But guess what? That's why Disney gets to make stupid fucking shit or make movies that are worth $100 million or own half of the fucking world, because people love that shit. People love mid. And be like, and that's what Disney makes, mid. And be like, and people love that shit. Like, so,
well, all right. Are you ready to get off this subject?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about more movies that nobody gives a shit about, since you've seen a lot more lately?
Yeah.
Tell me more about a movie that no one gives a shit about and they were dumb for making it. So,
Yeah,
like American Fiction?
That's a good one. Then we can start there.
Yeah,
American
Eileen,
Fiction,
right?
American Fiction.
Another
Eileen.
dumb fucking movie. Fucking bozos.
It's like American Fiction. Jeffrey Wright.
What a dumb piece of content. Huh?
Saw this trailer.
I saw this trailer too yesterday. First time.
Couple months back. Just interested right off the bat. Didn't even fucking care what it was about. As soon as I saw Jeffrey Wright on it, I was down. The trailer does look a little. It does feel very like formulaic. I would say there's nothing like
Malibu's Most Wanted.
There's nothing interesting about the way it's shot. There's nothing interesting about, like, there's no style to this movie, which is it's just fine.
Wait, really?
I wouldn't say there's like, oh man, there's like the shot, and there's none of that. There's no shot like that. Like, no, there's nothing like that. But I think
no artistic merit, like, at least visually.
I would. It's okay. You know, I'm not gonna say like
that
it's
means
like
it's not
biggest.
so, okay, yeah.
There's nothing that stood out to me about like, oh, this shot. But I think Jeffrey Wright is too good of an actor to not really bring his A game to everything, and in this case, he does for American Fiction, and he. The movie's a little really like it's meta on its own unique way, and I think that lends itself for a very unique performance from him. And also, I think the movie, although very similar to Thanksgiving, seems very straightforward. It is kind of commenting on things, not just that's shown to you in your face, but more of underlying tones. So I do think this movie is inspired. I just don't think it's stylish. So, I guess that's like my bias.
Most Wanted allegations. Because like when I was watching it, and I'm like, wow, look, it's just not to be like, oh, this movie is just this, but I was like, that's what they were doing in Malibu's Most Wanted. Like Tay Diggs when he was like, oh, I'm this really smart guy, but I'm gonna put on this act as this fucking like kind of gangster rider who's fugitive on the run. Like, I'm sure that's probably the more interesting aspect of the story, right? Is the character he's created kind of forms its own reality, I'm guessing, right? Like the fiction that he's writing starts to become like bleeding into real life.
Yeah, but then also the trailer sells you something that is not the point of the movie. I will say that.
Wow, how about that? A trailer, huh?
I think like the trailer sets you up to think something of the movie, and then when you watch it, you're like, oh, it's actually about this, and you're like, I like that more.
Does this fall? I mean, I haven't seen it, but so I'm just gonna. Does this fall into the why the fuck did you make this? Like you were dumb for making this. This is a dumb movie to have made.
Well, I feel like that's such a bleak
that, but I'm just saying, like, from the businessman point of view, this is a dumb fucking movie to make.
But I think from a businessman perspective, this movie looks like something that people were gonna watch on Netflix. It looks like a Netflix movie. That's so funny because that's like my biggest complaint with, I think,
movies.
Killers of the Flower Moon and The Killer. As much as I like them, I'm like, these feel like such fucking like, this is just an Apple TV show. Like, God, this is fucking terrible. Like, I hate the way this looks.
I didn't know this. You didn't really elaborate on that. So Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah, like every time Netflix.
You think it's an ugly movie?
Every time Netflix or Apple TV.
In the episode, this is way more interesting than what we actually talked about.
Is every single time they pick up a movie, I'm like, there's just these scenes in them that I'm like, this looks like a Netflix movie. Why do you think that though? If Netflix
doesn't always make these movies, like if it's a movie that they bought and they didn't make, and they're just distributing it through Netflix, you still feel that way?
Yeah, even if
they had nothing to do with it,
for example, like Apple, for example, right? I like the fact that they gave them the funds. They're like, we're gonna use this camera and we're gonna use this certain amount of budget for a certain amount. This is the minimal line. So when there's shots that are not about being artistic, they're just talking, they fucking look like that. Like they just look like,
I didn't know that.
Is this terrible shit.
Did you feel this way walking out?
So like when Leonardo DiCaprio, like that's like, to me, when I walked out of
Flower Moon, ugly movie.
That's when I walked out. I was like, sure, there's some good scenes in it, but I'm like, in the shot where Leonardo DiCaprio is riding around with her, what is artistic about that? There's literally nothing artistic about that fucking shot. And it looks so bland. It looks just so fucking like, we made a little town and we just got the shot and then that's it.
I heard that in another podcast, and the guy was saying, is like, but historically, these towns did look like, it's kind of funny. It's like they almost did look like movie sets because of how quickly they were like, all of a sudden now it's just like two houses and then nothing. You know what I mean? Like almost like Unforgiven, you know what I mean? Where you're like, that's a good example too, Unforgiven, where you're like, look at this town. Be like, it's such a movie set, but then you're like, these probably did kind of look like that.
But it's just like the way it's shot though. It's like just a standard fucking shot. Like it doesn't. There's no fucking creativity to that shot
Marty's
whatsoever.
Lost it, huh?
That's $200 million movie. Be like, what is every single shot, the directions? I like every single fucking shot in the holdovers. Seems like they sat there and be like, how do I make this more interesting? How do I make this more interesting? And this movie be like, this 200 fucking million, 3.5 hours long. Most of the fucking scenes in here look like shit. Like, why? Like, sure, you could give me scenes that be like, they're framed really well, or you have the fucking, what is the word? I'm like, your blocking is insane. Sure, every single time. But why does it look like shit? Like, I don't understand why it looks so gray, so dull all the time. Why are their outfits clean? I don't know. It's because you have so much money. Like that you're just like, well, we just made this yesterday. This outfit that he's wearing.
It's too clean for you?
It's too clean every single time. And in The Killer, it's like, bro, oh my God. Like the McDonald's, like you get... He's at McDonald's, really? Like, oh my God! Like, there's an ad in this thing. Like, it's the same thing with I told you with Barbie. Be like, okay, so we're just gonna sell the key on this shit. Like, this
is interesting. You're giving a lot of floors out to movies that it sounds like you have huge problems with, like Killers, The Killer, like Barbie. Like these are all movies that you said you liked, but the more the time passes, like you don't. Do you not like them as much as you did?
No, but like, I that's what I think. Like, to me, like they're not fives.
Like that. Like when you're like, this is ugly. It looks like shit. Be like, that's what I'm saying about Saltburn. You know, like where like I feel you. Like I'm not asking you. No, Alvaro, explain to me why the color gray is ugly. Like no, okay, you're saying it's ugly, but I can feel it when you say it. Like yeah, you mean that. You know what I mean?
And that's what I mean is like when I have these gropes, I'm like I'm the only one that has them apparently.
But then that's okay.
And I go, no, but that's when I go, but like that's where you're showing me the bias. Because like when Martin Scorsese has a scene that looks ugly as shit, nobody wants to say it.
Do you want bias to not exist though? Like, you think that can fully be removed from things?
No, I just think people judge things acting like they don't have a bias. Like, so tell me,
if I tell you I have a bias, be like that's okay then?
Like, so tell me, be like, I don't care about Napoleon. I've never cared about Napoleon, and I didn't like this movie. Be like, okay, so that makes sense to me. Like, so now it's become like, I knew what this movie was about. I didn't give a shit about this movie, and I went to go watch it because I wanted to not like it, to prove that I was right about why do they make this shit like this. That's literally what fucking half of the reviews that I see about any movie that's bad feels to me. He's like, I knew this was gonna be fucking stupid, and I went, and it was even stupider than I thought. And like, so you wasted your time to go watch something you knew you weren't gonna like, or something you've never been interested in before, and be like, you're supposed to convince me. I'm giving you no money as an A-lister to convince me that this is good. Like, for what? So you can in your head be like, I was right. Like, okay, you're right, and what? Like, I don't understand. Like, we've talked about before. Be like, okay, so if a Rotten Tomato score is one thing and I don't agree with it, like, they're wrong. If it's right, they're right. Like, so it's always like, you want the validation. Like, you're not critiquing this movie because you're like sitting there and I'm gonna watch it unobjectively and I'm gonna tell you I didn't like this because of X, Y, and Z. I didn't like this because I thought you could do this better. Like, you're gonna be like, oh well, fucking this sci-fi movie did it this way. Like, well, this movie isn't this movie. Like, so can you tell me how you would, in the context of this movie, fix this? And for sure, my favorite reviewers, some of the best that I've seen, they do that. They judge a movie based off of like in its reality of its own, and that's like, this is good fucking critique. But when you're just like, I thought this, and this, like, well, that's not this movie. So why are you comparing it to this movie? And be like, you're also be like, if you bring up a movie from 40 years ago, like, so this movie is inspired by this movie, by this movie, by this movie. So if you're gonna watch something, of course it could be a copy of this other thing, like, but that's bad. Like, so as somebody who watches that many movies, I shouldn't evoke my favorite movie. I should just leave it alone and try to come up with this thing that's supposedly original, even though nothing is original. So I do think it's like,
yes, I would say.
So,
because
yeah,
sometimes I see movies and I'm like, this is just a worse version of this. So this felt like a waste of time because you could have done something else or said something else about a subject, you know? Be like,
I get, that's what I mean. It's like, I guess, like, say what though? Like,
well, we're not even talking about a movie. We're just talking about the idea of how we watch movies. Like, so what do you want me to pull out of my ass? Some made up movie that doesn't exist right now? Like,
no, like I think, for example, like Saltburn and Talented Mr. Ripley are two that get compared. Like, have been getting compared, right? This is just Talented Mr. Ripley.
I haven't done it because I haven't seen it. And have you seen it? Like, so
no.
Be careful about what you're about to say, because
but that's what I mean.
You haven't seen,
but that's what I fucking mean. Like, you're comparing it to be like a movie that now in revisionist theory has been seen that this movie's really good. A movie that, sure, people saw at the time and they're like, this is good. Saltburn, the same thing. Like, you're judging it already based off of, you're gonna fucking be like, I know now the pulse that this movie isn't gonna be good. Go read the Blade Runner reviews. Go tell me how everybody who thought that was fucking shit, they later wrote a review about how it's a masterpiece. Because oh shit, you're right. Like, so you can't even stand on the business, bro. Like, from whatever years from now, don't.
Talented Mr. Ripley, 128 million, which is, I guess, nothing now, right? But at the time was amazing that a movie made that much. 5 Academy Award nominations, including Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Supporting Actor for Jude Law. This is a movie that is just a cultural blind spot for me. I have no clue about this movie. People fucking love this movie.
That's what I mean.
I know one person that this is one of their top 4 favorite movies, like, in the time that I've known them. So yeah, that's a movie that has cultural relevance.
So that's what I mean.
To this day.
And then you're like, you're just
like,
making.
For me, I don't have that. But I wasn't saying like, oh, I don't like it because it's like Talented Mr. Ripley. I don't like it because it's like other movies.
That's what I mean, though. Like, it's other movies that are in regard seen as great, because it's not like that movie. So do you think the movies that people now are like Blade Runner, it wasn't regarded as great?
Then they were wrong.
So
that's
then,
okay, and I might be wrong, and that's okay.
And then that's what But
do you want me to never change my mind about Saltburn either, though? Like, no, if I'm like, oh, it's a 5-star movie one day, be like, duh.
I just think be like, when you're judging it in a certain way and be like, you make it, you could flip so hard on it. Like, you obviously weren't looking at this objectively. You were letting any outside source of yours influence your fucking thing. And you're not reviewing it how it should be as art. Be like, as literally as, but anybody could say, be like, they like art, but they don't review it as art. Like, I love art, but I'm going to compare it to something else. I'm going to compare it like it's stats. And it's not stats. Every movie is a single movie. And that's what I mean. Is like, every single time, this is just a lowbrow Tumblr version of Talented Mr. Ripley. Like, so to one of the greatest films of all time, you're like, it's just a towered down version. How many movies are that exactly? Like, so that makes it bad? So like, in your head, that makes it bad?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And be like, you obviously don't agree with that. Be like, but they're all just opinions. Be like, no one is saying like, this is my fact. And, you know, I don't. Movie liking is not fact based. Maybe other people, but the person you're sitting across from in this room is not acting like these are facts.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know if does it come across to you like that? Though, like when I'm talking about it, I'm like, well, you're saying it like it's a fact. I mean, do I have to preface it like this is my opinion? You know,
No, it's like I do think it's
obviously I have strong opinions, but they're just opinions.
yeah. The bleeding of it though is like the intense amount, not just in general of any movie that is bad. Like in the intense hate of it is kind of always insane to me, because it's like you chose to watch this though. Like I don't necessarily
Just
feel like
choose to watch something doesn't mean it is now protected from a certain level of criticism.
no, but to all of a sudden address it as like the subject matter is uninteresting to me. Like, so then why would you watch it?
I didn't think it was uninteresting when it started.
Yeah, like
Did it never change? I can't think something all of a sudden halfway through like I don't actually like this now.
If I didn't like Elvis, why would I watch Priscilla?
Well, do you like Elvis? I don't remember.
I mean, sure enough as like he's a piece of shit, obviously now, but like I like him, sure.
Well, you mean Elvis the movie or Elvis the person? Oh, I don't know. Why did you watch Priscilla?
Because it's like I like Sofia Coppola.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, so I don't be like I don't
because I wasn't even sure if you were gonna see that movie. I mean, I thought you would because you know you're a fiend for racking up the A-list, but I didn't know if you were gonna see that movie.
because it's like the same thing. Like I don't really care. But then that's why I said like when my bias of that movie is that's what I said. Like this movie's good. This movie's whatever. But maybe it's not for me because I don't actually care about this stuff. So like I'm not to be like I like to keep into mind of like this is probably not for me, because it's like that doesn't mean it's a bad movie because it's not for me. I'm not the only audience for this fucking movie. So to me, I'm like I do like to take into account and be like Five Nights at Freddy's. This movie is sure if you've never seen anything about it, this movie's fucking stupid. But if you've actually ever been part of anything of the trek of it, it's a service to the people who have been there the whole time. So it's not for you. But you know what I mean? It's like, so is that a bad thing? No. For me, no. They made a movie about a fucking community that is willing to make 5 of these because they don't care if it's it's not funny. It's not what they don't give a fuck. It got made. Like, so those people, this movie is for them. So when I judge it, I go, it's just not for me.
Like if I've already lost the. Say if you hate Five Nights at Freddy's, like I've already lost. I'm not even allowed to say that I don't like it. You know, like I know I'm in the underwhelming minority, like, but shut up about it too. You know what I mean?
I heard Sean Fennessy talk about that when he's just kind of like I didn't know anything about, or the girl that he's always
yeah.
like,
And
I
his
didn't know.
Little sister loved it because he has a sister who's like a millennial or a Gen Z or whatever. She's like, this is a goated movie right here. And he's
like, you don't get it, bro. Like like you just don't get it. But it's like you have to. And him as a critique, right? It has to make sense in my brain as a movie maker. It has to make sense. Like, no, it's content, bro. Like you lost it already. This is not the world we live in anymore. Like this is fucking content, and people want X, Y, and Z from it. Like, so they got X, Y, and Z, so they love it. Like, so you fucking being like movies need to. We talk about that too with Adam Naiman. Like, oh, these movies need to be this, and this to be good. Like, no, they don't. Like, people do not agree with you. Like, and so then for you to kind of like, that's your opinion, sure, but whenever somebody makes it out, it's always like it's never, I'm the opinion, I'm fine with that. It's like, no, let me tell you, every time somebody comes up, nah, I didn't like that movie. Like, you have to make it known, but I must be the only one here that has a fucking brain, right? Be like, I think you're over, like, you're selling yourself out some more what this movie needs to be than what it is. In a world where we live where everything is content, be like, this is content. Real movies exist, sure, but people don't care about those. So, and then I do think in terms of judging a movie, so when something like Saltburn gets made, I, as a person who fucking watches these movies that nobody cares about, I'm like, I'm glad this got made.
I'm glad it got made.
And then when it's like, but then I hear the critique about it, and it's like, so then people are like, why don't people make these movies?
Well, why do
like,
I have
whoa.
to? I can be happy a movie exists and not like it. Be like, sure, I don't love Saltburn. Be like, but is that a cooler movie existing than fucking Blue Beetle or the Marvels? Like, for sure.
Yeah, but
for
people,
sure.
But I mean, anybody would be like, go look at anybody and be like, they're rated the same. Like, Blue Beetle and Saltburn are exactly as bad as you. They could be like, that's insane. That is fucking
what do you
insane.
mean? I have Saltburn at a 3 and Blue Beetle at a 1.
That's what I'm saying. Oh, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, anybody, go look at them. They're both 2.5s.
Okay.
Or like, it's like, really? Like, so you don't like movies like
rating
this.
systems, right? Because like how people do their rating systems.
That's what
of
I'm
like,
saying.
oh well, The Lion King is a 5 and so is Ron, and be like, yeah, it is. Like, they believe that, you know. Be like, but okay, like that's okay to believe that, you know what I mean? So I'm like, it doesn't bug me that people think that, you know. I'm just like, it's pretty cracked, you know.
Yeah,
like my favorite movies, The Avengers, The Dark Knight, The Godfather. Be like, and you actually think all three of those are equal? Be like, yeah, I do. Like, damn.
But that's I don't know. Like, that's different. The highs are different than quantifying the lows, because like the lows is like, for example, be like a 1-star movie, like literally, okay. The Marvels. There's a whole video on YouTube like the worst movie ever made. Like, bro, I promise you, it's not the worst movie ever made. I promise you,
well,
it's not.
hyperbole to sell a video. Like, of course he's gonna exaggerate.
But
The Marvels is a mildly okay movie. Like,
go
look
at the
right?
Letterboxd reviews of half a star and tell me if those are people that are just selling it. No, those are people who are like, I'm smarter than you guys. I actually get that this is shit. But to you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. Like,
well, yeah,
it's never.
An opinion
You opened
right?
you opened an account, a Letterboxd account, to write on this and tell you how. But like, all of y'all are fucking stupid. Like, this is movies actually this and this.
Do you see these reviews as like attacking? Like, I don't. Like, when someone says who's fucking stupid, I don't be like, oh well, then I'm fucking stupid because I like it. I'm just like, go ahead, you know, like, go off. The same way I don't think like I'm smarter when I like a movie that people don't like. You know, like, no, you don't understand. You know, be like. Maybe be like, but sometimes I feel like the things you're talking about, like that's not. You're talking about a person who's like not in this room, you know. Like
I've seen it. That's what I mean. Like, I have seen people be
like,
throw out that
though,
sentiment.
between me and you, be like not between me, you, and the people on Letterboxd, you know.
Because like me, I talk about movies here and on my Letterboxd, and then nobody else, because nobody gives a fuck. Honestly, like, so that's why I'm not about to tell somebody, oh, did you watch that movie? Let me tell you why it sucks. Be like, no, because I'm supposed to change their opinion. I'm supposed to make them feel bad and be like, that movie fucking sucks. No. Like, so if I have a negative opinion about a movie or a movie that I'm trying to like, I just turn it off. Because like, what am I gaining from watching something that I don't like? And it's like, sure, if I went to the theater and I paid and I'm going to watch the whole movie, and if I watched it and I thought it was a piece of shit, I'm going to log it. But I don't usually go and watch something that I'm already look at the trailer and be like, this looks like a piece of fucking shit. But most people will, to prove to you that you're fucking wrong. And I know what's good. And be like,
you know, honestly, when I watch a movie, I'm trying to be proved wrong. Like, if a movie that I think will be bad.
So like that, I'm trying to be proved wrong. Like, you already have it.
If it's bad, be like, okay, be like, well, or not so much bad. Be like, Blue Beetle. Like, do I think the idea of a Blue Beetle movie could be cool? Like, yeah. Like, but then the trailer for the movie is usually, well, I'm hoping not the entire movie, you know? So then I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's not as bad as it looks in the trailer, you know? I'm not like, oh yes, I wanted Blue Beetle to be 1 star. Like, all right, hopefully I come out of here and it's like a 3.5. You know, like I watch them with an optimism that I'll be like, oh, I guess I'm the dummy who doesn't know that. Like, this is why you don't make movies, because look, you don't even know what a good movie is.
I love Venom. Love Venom. I had no interest in watching the movie.
Wait, is this a bit, or are you being serious right now?
I'm being serious.
Okay, Venom, the first one.
No. Venom, the character.
The character. Okay.
Like, I love Venom. The second the trailer came out, I'm not watching that. I'm not watching that. I can tell you right now that this is a piece of shit.
Oh, well, I will say as a movie fan first, to be like, I'm not going to engage in Blue Beetle comic books, TV shows, whatever. My preferred medium is going to be the movie. So if you're going to give me a movie of Blue Beetle, I will watch that. If you're going to ask me to read 20 Blue Beetle comics, like, I'm not going to watch that, because I'm not a comic book fan. I'm a movie fan. Like, and sometimes a comic book movie will surpass being just that. And then you're like, wow, this is good, even though I don't really care for the comic that much or whatever, you know, because like, what are my favorite Batman things? Like, the fucking movies, not the books that are probably better, you know, because my preferred medium is to consume Batman is through film, you know? Like, so if I'm gonna consume anything from Blue Beetle, it's going to be through the film. It's not going to be through the comics, which are probably better. Yeah, of course. But it's not my preferred medium. So you're going to have to meet me in the middle, you know, if you want me to take anything that's Blue Beetle. Black Adam, be like, would I watch that? Be like, I would watch that before I read a Black Adam comic. That's for sure. You know?
Yeah, see, like, that's the perfect word. Like, not interested. I've never cared about this character. I'm never going to care about this character. It doesn't matter how. And then I see, it's a DC movie. Like, no. Like, I'm good. Like, they've destroyed their track record. Everything points to this movie being bad. Why am I going to go watch it to be like, I was right. For what? To what validation? That it doesn't give me any validation to be like, I was right. Like, okay, I wasted 2 hours of my life to go. I was right. Like, and it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong. It doesn't. Like for Black Adam, maybe like it matters to the studios. But look, Aquaman is coming out nonetheless, so it doesn't matter. So to anybody that the critique might matter to, it doesn't. And anybody else, it does just feel like you're watching this to vary it. It's like somebody tells you they like this movie to just be like a contrarian. It's like, sure. I mean, I think that's part of the fun of people. People like debating, obviously, but I do think there's just certain movies where I'm like, there's some of the criticism that I hate does come from like, you could just not watch this movie.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, everything you say, I agree. I can see up until the like, well, you should just not watch it then. Like, I would like to partake. Like, is that wrong to want to partake?
Nah, I don't know.
To you, yes, right?
To me, it makes no sense.
Shrug, you could just say yes.
Like, it makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense.
That's okay. Like, I do things all the time that don't make sense. Like, and that's fine. I need to step out for 1 second. So why don't you go ahead and tell us one more movie that you saw, and then I'm gonna probably quick fire through like 3 of them without even actually saying anything. Go ahead.
Sounds good. So another movie that I did watch throughout this break that I wanted to bring up that we haven't really talked about in any other way, I think is a movie that'll probably be lower, or I'll probably bring up again actually, but this is one that's I think on Netflix now, May, December. That is another movie I wanted to bring up just because I just really like this movie. Julianne Moore, Natalie Portman. I think obviously we're talking about 2 actresses that are very seasoned at what they do. I think Todd Haynes, while I haven't seen Carol, but I do
I don't think I've even seen any of his movies.
Like, I love Safe. I think he's honestly probably up there with one of my favorite directors from what I have seen. I think he's very, very smart.
What's his name? Tom Haynes?
Todd
Haynes. Oh.
And
he's one of those ones that off puts me from afar, but I think it's because of a couple of the movies he made at a certain period of time. Anyways, go ahead.
But I think he's definitely, I think he's a very smart filmmaker. I think he definitely knows how to approach subject matter that is quite up to the times, but also a lot more nuanced. Or I would say it's nuanced, but he knows how to attack it in a very personal way and also make it those deep connections that I say that sometimes somebody like Kubrick might have been like, I don't know how to portray this on film. I think Todd Haynes is very, very, very good at that. And May December is a very well acted film, although, you know, they, like I said, has Natalie Portman and Julianne Moore. I do think
Charles Melton. What about him?
Charles
Riverdale
Melton.
King.
I think Charles Melton,
another actor who appears to be stepping up to the ranks of like, no, take me serious.
Yeah, Charles Melton is serious here. I do think he is
capital S.
Very, very good in this film, and I think if he gets a nomination for supporting actor, I would not be surprised.
You can steal it from your boy RDJ. If you have any information that could help Robert Downey Jr. win the Best Supporting Actor, the president would really appreciate it.
I think like just because the Academy likes to like, once they're gonna give certain awards to certain movies, they try to like, all right, let's variate it a little bit. I can see it.
Sometimes, I guess, right? Like, they didn't do that with Everything Everywhere All at Once. So like, you can have every single one of them.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, like so.
No.
I do think it could be him, and then same thing with.
Dude, if you go back to our episode about where we did the Oscar predictions, like right before the Oscars started, couldn't have been more wrong. Because we might as well have just guessed one movie the entire time. What a boring fucking Oscars. One of the great movies I've ever seen. Yeah, I'd be like, what a boring fucking Oscars. Just give it all to one. Like, all right. And
so. Between actor, I think it'd be him, or then like Daphne Joy in The Holdovers for the women. Like, I just nominate. That's how great of a performance I think they had, and I would highly recommend watching this movie. I think it came out yesterday on Netflix. So,
I mean, I haven't seen this yet. I want to. I also haven't seen The Killer yet because I just haven't done the Netflix thing I said I was going to do yet. Kind of putting it off. There is something about Netflix where, okay, well, I will say as a person who likes going to the theaters that Netflix puts me off of watching the movie. I'm like, you've given me no hype feeling that I need to watch this. Like at any time. Like, yeah, I could put on The Killer in 10 years. It doesn't fucking matter because it never came out. I'm not missing anything, you know? It's like, yeah, 1 week, but 1 week is nothing. Like, I mean, we're in different situations, obviously. Like, you know, I'm a dad, I'm a husband. Like, I don't have 1 week to fucking go and see this movie. And now, well, you're a fucking loser because you didn't go see it when it was here, you know? Be like, I have a life, you know what I mean? Like outside of this completely where I can't always go do that. Be like, so then once that is gone, be like, there's no excitement for me. It's like, I'll get to it, you know, because it's like, oh, this is like a little gem that I'll tuck away for one day. Like it's a classic already, which I feel weird. Cause like sometimes a movie that could be seen like, oh, this is so good. It's like a classic I'm tucking away for like, I'll get to that. When it's like, dude, it's a movie that came out now. Like, I wish I could just play it in the theater. I'll go tomorrow if you offer it to me, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's like, again.
And May, December, the same thing. I would prefer to go see this in the theater. Like, I don't want to watch this on Netflix. Like, I will, but I'm not going to pretend that that's even half as fun of an experience as going with you walking on and be like, what the fuck just happened, you know?
Yeah,
it's not.
And I mean, again, I think that goes back to the conversation. I mean, like, this movie's running at circuits and, you know, Netflix approaches it about doing this and they understand very, very vividly, like, we're going to give this a limited release. Same with David Fincher because no one actually cares about this stuff. So we're going to give it the one theater release for people who are fucking snobby and want to go watch it. And then we're going to put it on Netflix because everybody wants to watch this as soon as possible.
And then it will disappear in 2 weeks off the top 10 and it will be buried. You will not even know it's on Netflix anymore. Or it'll do some crazy thing where like it's no longer on Netflix even though they made the movie a la fucking Beasts of No Nations and things like that. Be like, hey, you know the movie we made and we said you could always watch but it doesn't exist anymore actually. So hopefully you bought the Criterion.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I do think, again, these directors agree to those things knowing, be like, this is, if I want The Killer to have any...
Well, like, obviously, yeah, you're going to take the thing. I just wanted to get it done.
Yeah, like, if I want to...
I'm not going to fault the filmmaker for it.
Because I do think it's like, it's a... Your snobby friends are going to go watch it. The director's snobby friends are going to go pay to watch it because they could say they watched it in the theater. Those are the only people that are kind of willing to pay that. And... Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to watch both of these, obviously, in the theaters. And while, again, May, December, I don't feel as much in terms of that Netflix look that I was talking about. But The Killer, I do understand why somebody's like, I could have just watched that.
What about Marriage Story? Do you feel that way about Marriage Story?
I don't
that it looks like a Netflix movie?
I don't. And
White
I don't
Noise?
feel... White Noise, a little bit.
The Wes Anderson movies?
Yeah, the Wes Anderson movies, a little bit.
That's interesting.
It's like, so...
That's interesting because it's like, that is like, I mean, we talked about biases this whole episode. Be like, how can that be true even about the movies that they don't make, right? The ones that they just purchase and put out there?
Because it's like, for me, it depends...
Because like, you're saying, oh, it's a Netflix movie, like, but it's literally not, right? Like, they just gave it to you to watch. They didn't make it.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know that for a fact.
Right?
I don't know that for a fact.
Wait, you don't know what for a fact
that they didn't have any input? Yeah, no, I don't know.
Oh, well, I mean, that's stuff you can find out. I
guess. But
I don't have anything to say about something because I haven't seen it, but I don't know. After this recent conversation we were having, I don't know if this is going to be an outside influence that will predetermine my judgment of the movie, but I wanted to bring up because, you know, we like to talk about Letterboxd, the funny reviews, the serious reviews and all of that. This one just kind of had me laughing, obviously out of context, of course. It's like Julianne Moore in May December has sex with the 12-year-old. Letterboxd review with 900 likes. OMG, mother is mothering right now.
You know what I did find funny about that?
Okay? Is that a permissible joke?
This is like what I talk about. Like people are just waiting to hate because who is she talking about in that review? If you've not seen the movie, what character is she talking about?
I just think it's a funny joke. Like
I know, but people are like, God, they're gonna take. Who is she talking about in that Letterboxd review? If you haven't seen, like, you haven't seen the movie, who is she talking about in that Letterboxd review? I guess they're assuming Julianne Moore. There is another Natalie Portman serves in this movie, so why is it not Natalie Portman? Like, no, because if it's my narrative to hate on it and be like, look how stupid Letterboxd is.
Joke is hating on it.
Because why are they saying 900 people?
All jokes are hating?
No, because Letterboxd, the thing that people don't like about it, a lot of the snobbiness, right? Is like, look at the top fucking, and they always, one of my favorite reviewers on YouTube, Karsten, they always judge him on that. Why did he delete the streets were very mean on Mean Streets and it's a 5-star review, like. Because that's his joke title, like joke review, and one of the most liked people are like, he doesn't fucking get it. Like, bro, it's just a fucking tagline. And like, same thing with here. Mother was mothering. Well, who's the mother? Because you want it to be Julianne Moore so you could fit like, look at these fucking morons, don't even get the movie. Look what they think is acceptable. Like, bro, have you seen the movie? Did you ask her what character she's talking about? Because that makes context, that makes sense in the other characters' fucking like favor too. So I do think we never, especially on Twitter.
See, this is why I treaded carefully.
You take it out of context.
It's just a joke so it's not a funny joke.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, to that, like anybody who's ready to, because who liked that? Anybody who's ready to hate, exactly, who hasn't seen it.
I want to see this movie. I think it's going to be a cool movie.
So then they're like, God,
okay to like a joke.
They're
about
like,
the
God,
movie.
they're like, no, because he's not joking. He's making fun of Letterboxd. That is a common thing on Twitter to be like, these fucking morons. Look at the thing they put at the top. You're like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, you could it's not a joke. This is just funny. Because what's the joke in that statement? There's no joke in that statement.
Obviously, he's joking about the people on Letterboxd.
That's what I'm saying.
But is that not okay to joke about them? Or is like, it's not funny to
because
joke about them?
He'll say and tell you that be like, Letterboxd is fucking stupid. Like,
this
why?
guy's probably on Letterboxd.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, so what is the joke is to be like, and I'm better than them. Because like, look at this, like the joke on Letterboxd. Like, this is the top review on Letterboxd. And
actually, this he's on Substack, so.
See, exactly. So he's like, I'm not on Letterboxd.
Nah, like, y'all got to pay me to hear my opinion.
Exactly.
I'm a writer. I'm a writer, not a jokesman.
Go look and tell me he has a negative review on May December. Be like, look at these fucking morons think it's good.
I don't know, because like, I just brought up a joke. I mean, I don't have like facts and research and whatever. Like, I just thought it was a funny joke, but.
No, but that's what I mean. Be like, it could be a funny joke without no context. It could be a funny joke to be like, look at these idiots, what they're saying about the movie. Like, but did you watch the movie yet? No. Like, then how do you know who she's talking about in the fucking review? Like, you don't. Like, it's just kind of funny to be like, let's pick on the fucking people who are again. Like, it literally, you could say it's not that, but the internet has far proven. Go look at those comments whenever it starts picking at them. Like, oh, so you're just a hater. Like, yeah, every single time, just a hater. Like, sure, it could be funny, I guess. Like, but I don't. In that sentence, there is no joke. So it's kind of like, oh.
All right, well. I guess I'll just bring up one movie and we can end this. Let's see. What have I watched recently that I thought was really good? I saw 1001. It's pretty good. Pretty standard dramatic fare, I would say. It's got a interesting angle to it, which I do think, actually elevates the movie of like perception versus the reality of like, 2.5 hours in, who gives a fuck if I'm spoiling it? The relationship dynamic of this mother and son that you think like, why is he in and out of foster care? And then you realize that this is not her son at all. This is somebody that she, I guess in the eyes of the law, could say kidnapped this abandoned child. And, the beautiful, rocky, tormented relationship that they've had because of this dynamic. And it's very good. But yeah, I watched it right after Saltburn. So I went from watching a movie that I was like, oh, this is okay, it's pretty cool, to watching one where I'm like, yeah, this is very good. So shout out A.V. Rockwell. She's one to watch. Like, I'm excited to see what she does next. Hopefully she gets another chance to make a movie. I don't even know if it's her first movie, but if it is, I would say it does kind of feel like a first movie, but it has a little more of it. I like the dynamic too, because I feel like the relationship is like similar to something like After Sun, like there's these moments of small joy in a otherwise not really joyful life, I would say. But yeah, I watched that after Saltburn, so that was kind of a cool double feature. I'm pretty much ready to end it. I'm pretty cooked. Yeah.
Yeah, same here. I think went through a lot. Probably went longer than I thought, actually, but yeah, we talked probably more not about actual movies than the movies that we discussed. Yeah.
And yeah, all right, so 100th episode. What's next? I mean, we could do the Wes Anderson thing, but there's a ton of other movies coming out, so we will see what's next. Catch you next time, guys. 100th episode, 240 to the dome. Hopefully you take the whole thing, not just a piece of it. Shout out Saltburn. Bye-bye.
Bye.